Chapter 32:30. It's useless for me to say who it is. It's a small fry that we don't know. You know that our bloodcloth underworld sect is different from you guys. We don't need any promises. As long as the reward is enough, we will make our move. We won't ask too many questions. The shady forest ancestor waved his hand. He didn't expect that his casual words would actually hit the mark. This guy had a conflict with the leader of the Black Horse Society. Then there was no need to waste words. Small fry? The great elder of the Black Horse Society froze. He didn't suspect anything. How could a small fry from the Black Horse Society spend money to assassinate him? To be able to get the three ancestors of the Bloodcloth Underworld sect to make a move, how much would it cost? Feng Tianhu spent 5 billion and a promise to get a great elder to make a move. If the three ancestors of the Bloodcloth Underworld sect were to make a move, and they didn't need promises, it would be at least 20 billion. There was no one else in the Black Horse Society who could take out 20 billion other than the leader. There was only one person in the entire Black Horse Society who could take out 20 billion. I know. Do it. Give me a quick death. The great elder of the Black Horse Society sighed and gave up resisting. He didn't even use his chi to protect his body. He knew that even if he did, it was only a matter of time before he died. If the opponent hit him a few more times, he would still die. Since the outcome was already decided, there was no difference. He didn't have the mood to resist. He might as well let the opponent give him a quick death. Straightforward. The shady forest ancestor was stunned and nodded. Without saying anything else, the Bloodcloth ancestor, the Yellow Spring ancestor, and the shady forest ancestor stepped forward and surrounded the great elder of the Black Horse Society. At the same time, they started chanting. For a moment, the pressure of the chi in the room made Lin Yi feel like he couldn't breathe. Too strong. Lin Yi's own injuries hadn't healed yet. He just didn't have any life-threatening danger, so he quickly went to heal Cheng Yi and Shu Shahan. At this moment, 2 peak late phase heaven class masters and 1 peak late phase heaven class master were chanting together. Lin Yi was so close that he almost couldn't hold it and spat out a mouthful of blood. Phut! The great elder of the Black Horse Society looked at Lin Yi indifferently and shook his head. It seemed that the rumors were wrong. It seemed that Lin Yi was familiar with the Bloodcloth Underworld sect. Perhaps the 2 peak late phase heaven class masters were hired by Lin Yi to kill them. The Grand Elder of the Black Horse Gang knew that Lin Yi was rich. That cauldron could be sold for hundreds of millions, even billions. It was more than enough to hire the Bloodcloak Underworld sect to kill people. He didn't know that Lin Yi donated to the orphanage. He thought that the money was Lin Yi's. However, even if he guessed this conclusion, he wouldn't be able to send out the message. He would die in the next moment. The pressure in the air made Lin Yi breathless. He quickly used the 3rd level of the Art of Dragon Mastery to resist it. Although Lin Yi knew that the chi pressure of these 3 people wasn't targeting Lin Yi was too close. He was affected. This was the so-called getting shot while lying down. The shady forest ancestor also noticed Lin Yi's situation, but he didn't care because they weren't targeting Lin Yi. Lin Yi could have left the room. Lin Yi didn't go out, which meant that he could still bear it. Naturally, they wouldn't worry. It was estimated that Lin Yi wanted to see the great elder of the Black Horse Society die with his own eyes. The shady forest ancestor and the others didn't dare to be careless. Although the great elder of the Black Horse Society had already said that he would give him a quick death, which meant that he was waiting for death. After all, this was the first time in their lives that they were about to kill an expert at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage. They were a little nervous, afraid that something would go wrong. Therefore, they didn't make a move directly. Instead, they gathered their strength and prepared to use their strongest move at the same time to directly send the great elder of the Black Horse Society away. The reason why Lin Yi didn't leave was not because he wanted to see the great elder of the Black Horse Society killed. There was no need to watch at all. There was no suspense at all. The great elder of the Black Horse Society was facing 2 experts at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage and 1 expert at the peak of the late stage. Needless to say, the great elder of the Black Horse Society had already given up resisting. Even if he didn't give up resisting, he would die without a doubt. While Lin Yi was circulating the mantra here, he actually felt a glimmer of an opportunity for a breakthrough in strength. Previously, when Lin Yi fought with the Great Elder of the Black Horse Society, he was always in a state of tension. This kind of struggle that exceeded the limits of his body brought Lin Yi physical overdraft, but it also brought an opportunity for his strength to improve a step further. However, the difference in strength between Lin Yi and the Great Elder of the Black Horse Society was too great. The two only exchanged one move, and Lin Yi had no choice but to use the inescapable net, or else he would definitely die. This made Lin Yi very depressed. He had clearly touched the edge of the barrier, and as long as he put in a little effort, he would definitely break through. However, it came to an abrupt stop at the critical moment. This made Lin Yi feel bitter but unable to say it out loud. However, at this time, the three of them, Blood Cloak Ancestor, Netherworld Ancestor, and Gloomy Ancestor, were circulating the mantra together. The pressure brought by this true energy was not a joke. While Lin Yi was shocked, he was also surprised and happy. The opportunity that was just a little bit away from was touched by Lin Yi again. Although the combined strength of these three people far exceeded the Great Elder of the Black Horse Society, the target of these three people was not Lin Yi. Lin Yi was only affected by the aftershock. And the aftershock of one person could not cause such great pressure to Lin Yi, but it was the aftershock of three people. Although for Lin Yi, 3 people was a little too much, and 2 was just right, but Lin Yi did not care so much. It was not easy to get an opportunity, and Lin Yi would not easily give up. If he gave up, who knew when the next opportunity would come? And although the pressure of these 3 people was great, it was not that Lin Yi could not bear it. He could barely resist it, but it was a little hard, and it was easy to vomit blood from internal injuries. Of course, internal injuries and vomiting blood were not afraid of Lin Yi, as long as he could level up. As for injuries, with the art of dragon mastery and the space of the jade pendant, it was easy to recover. Therefore, Lin Yi did not leave, but desperately circulated the mantra to resist the true energy pressure of the 3 ancestors. Although Gloomy Ancestor was puzzled by Lin Yi's action, he did not say much. In his opinion, Lin Yi was smarter than anyone else. At this time, he did not leave, but vomited blood to resist. There must be a reason for Lin Yi, so let him do as he pleased. Chapter 32-31. Under the command of the Blood Cloak Ancestor, the Netherworld Ancestor and the Gloomy Ancestor also sped up the circulation of the mantra. At the same time, the true chi around their bodies also rose to a very powerful level. Phut! Lin Yi spat out a mouthful of blood again. This kind of pressure squeezed the meridians in Lin Yi's body, as if they were paralyzed. However, the true chi in the meridians urged them to expand continuously. This pressure and expansion almost made Lin Yi's whole body explode, so he spat out a mouthful of blood. However, at this moment, the meridians in Lin Yi's body suddenly began to shake violently, and there was a loud bang in Lin Yi's whole body, like a flood bursting through a dam. The true chi in his body seemed to have broken through some barrier and began to quickly cover every corner of Lin Yi's body. Breakthrough. Lin Yi took a deep breath and did not dare to be negligent. He quickly circulated the art of dragon mastery to stabilize the true chi in his body, because he felt that there was an even greater pressure coming from behind. Although Lin Yi had just broken through and became an expert with the strength of the early stage of Heaven Stage, the simultaneous attacks of the Blood Cloak Ancestor, the Netherworld Ancestor and the Gloomy Ancestor were no joke. Lin Yi did not want to be tragically killed by the aftershocks of these 3 people's big moves just after his breakthrough. That would be as miserable as it could be. However, it was too late for Lin Yi to escape. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. The 3 elders made their moves, unleashing their ultimate skills at the Grand Elder of the Black Horse Society. Boom! Under this powerful blow, the Dark Horse Society's Great Elder closed his eyes peacefully, a trace of blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. Obviously, although he was dead, he was still an expert with the strength of the late stage of Heaven Stage Great Perfection. His body was not broken into pieces. On the other hand, Lin Yi was unlucky. He had just broken through, but he had to forcibly circulate the mantra to resist this even more powerful pressure. In an instant, Lin Yi's resistance was raised to the limit. He had no choice but to use his most powerful true qi to protect himself from the aftermath of this pressure. However, even so, Lin Yi's entire body was pushed out by the aftermath of this coercion. He flew directly out of the window, fell directly from upstairs to downstairs, and landed heavily on the cement floor, making a dull loud noise. Lin Yi was in a daze from the fall. His internal organs had shifted positions, and his bones and meridians were mostly damaged. If it was someone else, they would have died very quickly. The pressure of 3 peak late-stage heaven rank experts wasn't a joke, not to mention that 2 of them were perfection stage experts. However, even though Lin Yi was about to die, the corners of his mouth revealed a surprised and delighted smile. Lin Yi actually touched the barrier of heaven rank middle stage. How was this possible? Although Lin Yi didn't believe that he could stabilize the strength of the peak early stage heaven rank in an instant and touch the barrier of heaven rank middle stage, but that feeling in that instant could not be wrong. It was indeed the barrier of heaven rank middle stage. It turned out that the potential of a cultivator was limitless. When facing the powerful pressure of 3 top experts, Lin Yi successfully achieved transcendence and breakthrough. Not only did he stabilize his newly promoted strength in an instant, but he also accumulated true qi in an instant and touched the barrier of heaven rank middle stage. Although, to advance to heaven rank middle stage still needed a period of time or an opportunity, he had already touched the barrier. Would it be any further to advance? Of course, only Lin Yi dared to use this method of transcendence and breakthrough. If it was any other cultivator, they would have died at this moment. Even if they transcended themselves, what was the use? This kind of injury could only be healed by Lin Yi himself. Even a recover pill would be useless. After the joy, Lin Yi quickly ran the 3rd level of the Art of Dragon Mastery and began to quickly repair his damaged body, meridians, and bones. These were not a problem for Lin Yi. Lin Yi meditated on the concrete floor below the dormitory. However, Lin Yi was knocked out of the window by the pressure of true qi and fell downstairs, which shocked the Blood Cloak Ancestor, the Underworld Ancestor, and the Gloomy Ancestor. Oh my god, I just wanted to kill the Great Elder of the Black Horse Gang in one move, but I ignored Lin Yi. Now that Lin Yi was killed, their death was probably coming soon. Could Lin Dongfang spare them? Could Yang Ming let them go? If either one of them came, these 3 would have to bear the consequences. Let's see how Master Lin Yi is. The Gloomy Ancestor reacted the fastest. He couldn't care less about the body of the Black Horse Gang's Great Elder. He jumped directly from the window, and the Blood Cloak Ancestor and the Underworld Ancestor followed closely. They were also nervous. Originally, they came to curry favor, but now they didn't do it properly. Lin Yi was killed. This was bad luck. However, Elder Yin Sen heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Lin Yi meditating downstairs, breathing evenly. He could feel that Lin Yi was running the mantra, and his strength had just broken through to the peak of the early stage of heaven stage. It seemed that Lin Yi was fine. What the Gloomy Ancestor could feel, the Blood Cloak Ancestor and the Underworld Ancestor could also feel, so these 3 simply became Lin Yi's protectors. They stationed themselves beside Lin Yi and waited for Lin Yi to return to reality from the state of meditation. Although Lin Yi was cultivating, he could also feel the arrival of the Gloomy Ancestor and the other 2, and they actually protected him. This made Lin Yi very surprised. He thought that they would leave after killing people. He didn't expect them to be so loyal and kind. The 3rd level of the Art of Dragon Mastery's healing speed was very fast. Although Lin Yi was seriously injured, he recovered quickly. Soon, Lin Yi opened his eyes, stood up, and cupped his fist to the 3 ancestors sitting beside him. Thank you, 3 ancestors, for protecting me. Ah, Mr. Lin Yi, are you okay? When the Gloomy Ancestor saw Lin Yi standing in front of him full of energy, he immediately breathed a sigh of relief, but his heart was full of admiration. He is indeed the grandson of Lin Dongfang, the disciple of Mr. Yang Ming. He is so powerful. He can break through in the pressure and heal himself, but thinking about it, how could these 2 juniors that he valued be bad? Chapter 32-32. Haha, there's no need to thank us. We didn't do anything. Yin Sen waved his hand. On the other hand, Mr. Lin Yi, you're amazing. This is the first time I've seen someone level up like this. You flatter me. Lin Yi saw that Yin Sen ancestor wasn't curious at all. Weren't they curious? But when he thought of their identity as assassins, he understood. Assassins usually wouldn't ask about things that had nothing to do with them. Why would they ask so much for money? Curiosity killed the cat. This time, we have to thank Mr. Lin Yi. If you didn't use the net to trap this old thing, we wouldn't have dared to make a move. You saved us a lot of trouble this time. We didn't have to do anything and completed the mission, Yin Sen ancestor said. Let's go up and take a look. Okay. I just happened to be there. I have to thank the three of you for helping. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to deal with him. Although they said so, Lin Yi had to be polite. After all, they were helping each other. Although Lin Yi felt that the Bloodcloak Underworld sect was very loyal, he didn't dare to go too far. After all, they didn't owe him anything. They were businessmen. It was already very good that they could do this. The four went up together. At this time, they saw the old dean, Xu Shahan, Cheng Yi, Xiaoke, and Xiao Ken at the entrance of the dormitory. Obviously, they saw Lin Yi meditating on the ground, but they didn't go over to disturb him. After the three ancestors of the Bloodcloak Underworld sect appeared, they didn't need to disturb him. They just stood far away and watched Lin Yi quietly. Seeing that Lin Yi seemed to be fine, the old dean and the others breathed a sigh of relief. Xu Shahan and Cheng Yi's eyes flashed with excitement and relief, but Xiaoke's mood was very complicated. In fact, Lin Yi's death was a good thing for Xiaoke. She didn't need to worry about Lin Yi pestering her in the future, and she didn't need to worry about any obstacles between her and the male thief. But Xiaoke didn't want anything to happen to Lin Yi. Although she didn't like Lin Yi, she knew that Lin Yi was a good person, and Lin Yi died trying to save the dean. Xiaoke wouldn't be happy for the rest of her life. She even thought that she might be a widow for him. Since she made a promise, she had to do it. She didn't think that she was a good girl, but she wasn't someone who went back on her words. Xiaoke let out a sigh of relief when she saw that he was fine. This guy was pretty strong. What a lucky guy. Lin Yi, are you all right? Xu Shahan couldn't help but ask when she saw Lin Yi walking over. Her eyes were shining with deep concern. She didn't hide it at all. Xu Shahan had been with Lin Yi every day, and Lin Yi had saved her many times. It was impossible to say that she didn't have feelings for Lin Yi. Xu Shahan had already given her heart to him, and now that she found her mother, she didn't have to worry too much anymore. The reason she became a celebrity was to find her mother. Now that she had found her mother, she started to think about retreating. She didn't care about the gossip anymore. She liked Lin Yi, and that was it. There was no need to hide it. But Xu Shahan didn't know if she still had a chance. Thinking about it, she felt like a failure. She was a star, but Lin Yi never treated her like one. In Lin Yi's mind, she was just a normal friend, right? Lin Yi, thank you. Cheng Yi looked at Lin Yi guiltily. She didn't know what to say. Lin Yi knew that she was an Earth class. Did Lin Yi know about the things he had done to Xiaohan? Did he know? Didn't he know? Cheng Yi didn't know, but she felt bad in her heart. But, a lot of times, people couldn't help themselves, right? Lin Yi nodded, but his eyes didn't stay on Cheng Yi for long. He didn't want Xu Shahan to notice anything. He planned to talk to Cheng Yi when there was no one else around, so he turned to the dean and said, "Dean, it's okay, take them to rest." This great elder of the Black Horse Gang was found by Feng Tianhu from the ancient Feng family. I don't think I need to say why he looked for you. As for Feng Tianhu, I will find him. But, I hope that everyone can keep the details of what happened tonight a secret. Although Lin Yi didn't say it clearly, everyone knew what Lin Yi was talking about. It was Lin Yi's true strength. The rumor that Lin Yi could kill a heaven-class late-phase peak was just a rumor. Lin Yi wasn't that powerful. If it wasn't for the Blood Cloak Yellow Spring sect, Lin Yi really wouldn't be able to do anything. I understand. All Amos nodded solemnly. We won't say anything, right, Xiaohan? Yes. Xu Shahan nodded. Then we'll go upstairs and take care of the corpses. We'll talk about the rest tomorrow, okay? Lin Yi nodded and said to the dean. Okay. The dean was tired as well. He nodded and brought Xu Shahan and the others to rest. Xiaoke, on the other hand, didn't say anything. When Lin Yi turned around and was about to leave, Xiaoke suddenly said, "Lin Yi, I will keep my promise." Xiaoke made a decision at this moment. She wanted to tell the male thief that she had made up her mind. Lin Yi was a good person, and Xiaoke didn't want to cheat his feelings anymore. "What?" Lin Yi paused. He knew the answer, but he still asked. "No. Nothing." Xiaoke was a little discouraged. Did Lin Yi really not hear what she said? Lin Yi, Blood Cloak Ancestor, Yellow Spring Ancestor, and Yinsen Ancestor went upstairs and arrived at the door of the broken room. The body of the Black Horse Gang's Grand Elder was lying quietly in the room. This was a hero of his generation, a top-level practitioner. It was a pity that he died here. Net of heaven and earth. Too bad it's a one-time use. I can't use it again. Lin Yi looked at the net of heaven and earth on the Grand Elder and sighed. It was a pity. But this guy has a good treasure. Compared to your net of heaven and earth, it's not bad. Old Ancestor Yinsen pointed at the Supreme Elder of the Black Horse Gang and said, "The divine weapons of these top-notch experts were all listed in the primordial era." Old Ancestor Yinsen of the blood-clothed Yellow Spring sect naturally knew about them. Chapter 32-33. At that time, Lin Yi was a little puzzled. Even if his attack was ineffective against him, it was impossible for him to just disappear, right? Even if I can't kill him, I can at least make him stagger, right? However, after the chi bomb was released, there was no sound at all. My chi bomb is gone just like that. However, later, the Supreme Elder of the Dark Horse Gang said that he had a trump card, but he did not tell Lin Yi what it was. Could it be the treasure that Gloomy Forest Ancestor mentioned? Is it his trump card? Thinking of this, Lin Yi's heart moved, and he quickly asked, "Gloomy Forest Ancestor, what treasure is it?" "This thing is called a chi ring." With that, Gloomy Forest Ancestor took an inconspicuous black ring from the Supreme Elder of the Dark Horse Gang's hand, raised it to Lin Yi, and said, "This thing can absorb the enemy's chi attack and store it in this ring. Then, when you want to release it, you can turn the chi inside into a move and release it. Moreover, the absorbed power is stronger than before." Ah! Lin Yi looked at the ring in front of him in shock. No wonder. It seems that my chi bomb was absorbed by this thing, and the Supreme Elder of the Dark Horse Gang casually pointed and the chi was released and hit my body. No wonder it was so strong. Under the situation where I dodged the chi protection, it could still blow a hole in half of my arm. This power is even stronger than the power I released before. However, this is a good thing. At a critical moment when facing the enemy, not only can it save my life, but it can also be used to fight back. It is really a rare good thing. Of course, although Lin Yi thought that this thing is good, he did not have any thoughts of taking it for himself. After all, the three people in front of him are top experts, and they are also his saviors. They have a good relationship with him, so it is impossible for Lin Yi to take away their love. However, what Lin Yi did not expect was that after taking the chi ring, Blood Cloak Ancestor directly handed it to Lin Yi and said, "This thing is for you." The Blood Cloak Underworld sect does not like to owe others too many favors. Last time, Dongfang Yinxing and Pure Yin Heavenly Master already owed you a favor. Including this time, there are 2 in total. How about I return one to you first? This tone was asking, but how could Lin Yi dare to refuse? Putting aside the fact that this was a great thing, he wouldn't mind even if he got a piece of trash to return the favor. After all, no matter what, the Blood Cloak Underworld sect helped him twice. Even if they did not tell him that they had a mission, it would be normal for him to owe them a favor. Not to mention, they would tell him the truth. Therefore, Lin Yi was pleasantly surprised. He took the chi ring and said, "This thing is a bit too valuable, isn't it?" It wasn't that Lin Yi was being polite, but the truth was that he didn't think that the favor he owed them was worth a sky-class weapon like this. Although this weapon seemed to be a support-type weapon, its value wasn't to be underestimated. Back when he exchanged with Shuigu, it could be seen how valuable a heaven-grade weapon was. Therefore, Lin Yi did not want to take advantage of the Blood Cloak Underworld sect. Since it's a favor, then there's no need to care about the value of the item. A favor is worthless. Blood Cloak Ancestor waved his hand and said, "So it's settled. This Lin Yi pondered for a moment and then made a decision. He took out the gale-chasing lightning boots from the space in the jade pendant and placed it in front of Blood Cloak Ancestor. Blood Cloak Ancestor, it's not good for me to take advantage of you. This is a pair of gale-chasing lightning boots. I believe you are familiar with it because it belongs to the Blood Cloak Underworld sect. I will now return it to its original owner. To be honest, the gale-chasing lightning boots were also a good item, but it was snatched from the Blood Cloak Underworld sect. Moreover, Lin Yi did not know how to use it, so it was useless to keep it. It was impossible for him to ask the Blood Cloak Underworld sect how to use it. This item originally belonged to them. How could Lin Yi ask them how to use it? Wasn't this the same as slapping his face? It was a bit too much to ask them how to use it after snatching it, especially since Lin Yi had a good relationship with the Blood Cloak Underworld sect. It was even more inappropriate to ask. Now was a suitable opportunity to return it to the Blood Cloak Underworld sect. Lin Yi would not feel that he owed the Blood Cloak Underworld sect too much. However, to Lin Yi's surprise, Blood Cloak Ancestor glanced at the gale-chasing lightning boots and said, "Oh, since it's your loot, it's yours. Yin Sen, make a copy of the chant and give it to Mr. Lin Yi." Ah! Lin Yi was completely dumbfounded. These people from Bloodcloak Yellow Spring were too kind, weren't they? Or could it be that they were too sentimental? They didn't even want to return it to them. Why did Lin Yi feel like he was dreaming? Looking at Lin Yi's stunned expression, Bloodcloak Ancestor did not know what to say. The two ancestors did not know much about the ways of the world. Wasn't this a bit too direct? This was obviously siding with Lin Yi. How could Lin Yi not overthink it? However, Bloodcloak Ancestor was a slick person after all. He quickly found a reason to explain. "Mr. Lin Yi, you don't have to think too much. This is how it is in ancient times. If you try to kill someone, but fail and get killed, the things on your body will naturally belong to them. This is the rule of ancient times. We have no reason to ask for it. It's unreasonable." In fact, what Bloodcloak Ancestor said was the truth. However, the truth was that only the ordinary ancient sects followed this rule. The powerful ancient sects would not abide by it. They would still take revenge. However, there was no need to tell this to Lin Yi. Therefore, Bloodcloak Ancestor only explained it this way. His purpose was to make Lin Yi feel that it was natural. "So that's how it is." Lin Yi nodded. "In that case, I'll accept it. No matter what, I still have to thank everyone. We're helping each other." Bloodcloak Ancestor waved his hand. The chant to use the gale-chasing lightning boots had already been written down. This thing was not complicated, and there were only a few chants. Chapter 32-34. The true chi ring is actually very easy to use. You just need to drip your blood on it to recognize its owner. This way, the true chi ring can be activated according to your thoughts. The eerie ancestor didn't hide anything and directly said everything he knew. Of course, this thing can only recognize its owner once. Unless its original owner dies, it can't be used even if someone else takes it away. So that's how it is. Lin Yi originally had the thought of not showing off his wealth. What if someone coveted this thing on his hand? After all, he wasn't a top cultivator yet. Although he had a fierce reputation, he still knew his limits. But this way, he wouldn't have to worry about others thinking about it. If they wanted to take the ring, they would have to kill him first. Lin Yi wasn't afraid of others threatening him with other conditions and forcefully taking the ring. "Yes, Mr. Lin Yi, we will take the corpse of the Dark Horse Association's Supreme Elder first. Same as before, please keep it a secret for us. This mission is carried out in secret, and the person who hired us is also from the Dark Horse Association. He naturally doesn't want this matter to be exposed, it wouldn't be good for him." The eerie ancestor said, "So, we can only put this responsibility on Mr. Lin Yi's head. This person was killed by you. I understand." Lin Yi nodded. This was the result he wanted to see, and he didn't doubt the words of the blood-clothed underworld sect's eerie ancestor. After all, it would be a huge scandal if the sect's president hired someone to kill the Supreme Elder. Naturally, it would be better to keep it a secret. After saying that, the eerie ancestor didn't say anything else. He picked up the corpse of the Dark Horse Association's Supreme Elder and disappeared into the boundless night along with the blood-clothed ancestor and the underworld ancestor. Lin Yi bitterly smiled and shook his head. He returned to his room and continued to cultivate. Lin Yi had just touched the barrier of the mid-heaven rank, so he had to work hard. If he broke through to the mid-heaven rank in one fell swoop, then Lin Yi might truly have the ability to instantly kill a peak late heaven rank powerhouse. There would be no need for rumors. On the other floor of the dormitory, the dean and Shu Shahan stayed in the same room. After such a storm, the mother and daughter must have a lot to talk about. Cheng Yi, on the other hand, stayed in a room by herself. Although Lin Yi had healed most of the injuries on her body, there were still some superficial injuries that hadn't been healed. Therefore, Cheng Yi was still in pain. However, she couldn't care less about the pain now. Her heart was full of suffering. He didn't know how to face Lin Yi and Shu Shahan in the future. She wanted to come clean with Shu Shahan, but she didn't have the chance. Shu Shahan was always with the dean. She didn't give Cheng Yi a chance to be alone. Just when Cheng Yi was hesitating, her phone rang. Cheng Yi picked up the phone and looked at the caller ID. She couldn't help but sigh deeply. However, she still picked up the phone. Boss. The person that Cheng Yi called boss was Feng Tianhu from the ancient Feng family. It turned out that Cheng Yi was actually a spy that he placed beside Shu Shahan. In other words, Cheng Yi was also a tool that Feng Tianhu used to make money in the secular world. How is it? Is that old woman dead? Feng Tianhu had actually received Cheng Yi's text message earlier. Tonight, Shu Shahan decided to stay at the orphanage. Lin Yi also stayed there. This made Feng Tianhu feel uneasy. Lin Yi actually stayed here? How could the great elder of the Black Horse Gang do it? But Cheng Yi tried to persuade them, but they didn't listen. Feng Tianhu couldn't do anything, and what Feng Tianhu was most afraid of was that the great elder of the Black Horse Gang would die here. But thinking about it, the great elder of the Black Horse Gang was a peak late-stage heaven-class master. Lin Yi could instantly kill a peak late-stage heaven-class master, but he might not be able to beat a peak late-stage heaven-class master. After all, they were two different levels. The difference was quite big. Feng Tianhu didn't think that Lin Yi had the ability to do it, because if Lin Yi really had the ability, then wouldn't he just kill his way to the ancient Feng family and stir up trouble in the ancient world? No, that assassin is dead. Cheng Yi took a deep breath and said, "What?" Feng Tianhu was shocked. What he was afraid of really happened. He couldn't believe his ears. What did you say? The Supreme Elder of the Black Horse Group, an esteemed peak late-stage heaven-rank great perfection expert, actually died. How did he die? How else could he die? Cheng Yi's heart moved. Her face showed a determined expression, but her tone was a bit helpless. I don't know how he died. Shu Shahan, the dean, and I all ran away. Only Lin Yi and the great elder of the Black Horse Gang were left in the room. Only the two of them? Lin Yi killed him? Feng Tianhu's eyelids twitched. Although he had already guessed this possibility, after confirming it, he still couldn't help but be afraid and disappointed. Heavens, could Lin Yi really kill a peak late-phase sky-class practitioner who was as strong as an atomic bomb on the ground? That was too powerful, right? I don't know. Maybe. Cheng Yi didn't say too much, but her words made it clear that it was Lin Yi who killed him. Feng Tianhu naturally thought so too. Then, that idiot from the Black Horse Gang didn't reveal my identity, right? Lin Yi doesn't know that I'm the one who found him, right? After Feng Tianhu's disbelief, he was deeply afraid. Lin Yi could even kill a peak late-stage heaven-class master. Killing Feng Tianhu was as easy as flipping his hand. What should he do? Feng Tianhu regretted it a little. Being impulsive was the devil. He shouldn't have tried to touch anyone related to Lin Yi. No matter what, the dean was still Shu Shahan's mother. If Lin Yi interfered, he wouldn't be able to live a good life. Now, Lin Yi didn't know. If he knew, then he definitely wouldn't let him go. Wasn't he looking for death? I'm not sure because I wasn't there. Han and I were both injured. It was Lin Yi who helped me heal and then we came out. Cheng Yi said. Chapter 32-35. Feng Tianhu was panicking. If Lin Yi found out that he was the mastermind, Lin Yi would definitely find him for provoking Lin Yi again and again. So, Feng Tianhu was prepared to run. How can I ask? Cheng Yi didn't want to work for Feng Tianhu anymore. She already felt sorry for Xu Shahan. Naturally, she didn't want to listen to Feng Tianhu anymore. Originally, she thought that Feng Tianhu was a very powerful person. She was destined to be unable to fight against him. But now that she heard his panicked tone, he no longer had his usual majesty. So, he was also a paper tiger. In front of Lin Yi, he was nothing. Me. You're a celebrity. Don't tell me you don't have any tricks up your sleeve. Lin Yi has so many beautiful women around him. Don't tell me you don't know why he's trying so hard to protect Xu Shahan. I'm also a man. I know this. Go to his room tonight. I don't care what you do, but you have to give me a definite answer. See if he knows about me. Most importantly, see if he has any plans to deal with me. Feng Tianhu ordered. Cheng Yi, I'm warning you. Don't think you can get away with it. Once you're done with this, I'll show you your brother's recent photos. If you don't do it well, don't even think about seeing your brother for the rest of your life. Do you hear me? Okay. Cheng Yi nodded helplessly and sighed. Her brother was a hostage in Feng Tianhu's hands. What could she do? She and her brother were orphans that Feng Tianhu adopted since young. Feng Tianhu used the excuse of training her brother. She didn't know where he sent her brother and made her a celebrity to earn money for him. Cheng Yi was worried about her brother's safety. She had no choice but to let Feng Tianhu do whatever he wanted. Mitch, I'm telling you. Don't play tricks. Don't think that I'm afraid of Lin Yi. Let me tell you, if I'm done for, your brother won't have a good life either. Feng Tianhu threatened. He was really afraid that Cheng Yi would run away. After all, Lin Yi's strength was too terrifying. Anyone would be afraid of going against Lin Yi. I understand, boss. Cheng Yi quickly said. It's good that you know. Feng Tianhu snorted and hung up the phone. Cheng Yi looked at her phone and couldn't help but sigh. However, Cheng Yi had already made a decision. There was no turning back. She knew that she couldn't retreat this time. She couldn't make the same mistake again. As long as he could get Lin Yi's help, it was not impossible to force Feng Tianhu to hand over his brother. Of course, the premise was that Lin Yi forgave her for all the wrong things she did to Xu Shahan. Gritting her teeth, Cheng Yi resolutely walked to the door, quietly went upstairs, and walked to Lin Yi's room. Cheng Yi was an Earth-class early phase master. Although the Dean was an Earth-class late phase peak, he had just leveled up. Cheng Yi was good at disguising herself. It was easy to fool the Dean. But it was impossible to hide it from Lin Yi. Someone was coming upstairs, and Lin Yi noticed it while he was in his training mode. He wasn't too nervous, and judging from the footsteps, it should be Cheng Yi. Lin Yi could recognize Cheng Yi's voice after spending so much time with her. It seemed that this girl wanted to be honest with him. Lin Yi shook his head. He didn't kill Cheng Yi and instead saved her. It was all because she blocked an attack for Xu Shahan. From this, it could be seen that Cheng Yi wasn't a bad person. Maybe she regretted it, or maybe she had her own difficulties. Cheng Yi came to the door of Lin Yi's room. She took a deep breath, gritted her teeth, and slowly unbuttoned her pajamas. The pajamas fell to the ground, revealing her healthy wheat-colored skin. Although this skin color looked a little dark, it was a relatively popular color nowadays. It looked sexier and healthier, and Cheng Yi had always walked this route. Because she was a cultivator, her body was very good, and her skin was firmer and more supple than Xu Shahan's. This was a body that could make men go crazy for it. Although Cheng Yi didn't think that Lin Yi was a pervert, but after thinking about it, the only thing that could make Lin Yi forgive her was this body. Luckily, it was a pure body. Otherwise, why would Lin Yi ask Feng Tianhu for her? Why would Lin Yi listen to a spy like her? Lin Yi's door wasn't locked, so Cheng Yi pushed the door open and walked in. The moment Cheng Yi walked in, Lin Yi opened his eyes and returned to reality from his training state. However, when he saw Cheng Yi without any clothes on, he was startled. However, the beautiful scene in front of him made his heart beat faster. It was undeniable that among the girls Lin Yi knew, Cheng Yi was the first. She was full of wild beauty. But Lin Yi was a strong-willed person. Although he was still a bit lustful, he could control himself and not let himself get lost. Cheng Yi, what do you mean? Lin Yi frowned and asked indifferently. Lin Yi. Want me? Cheng Yi didn't explain to Lin Yi. She went up and hugged Lin Yi, squeezing her body into Lin Yi's embrace. Lin Yi's shirt had a hole in it from the battle, and there was quite a bit of blood on it. So, when he was training, Lin Yi just took it off. His upper body was bare. Practitioners weren't that cold anyway. Cheng Yi was sticking to him naked, rubbing her breasts against Lin Yi's chest. It made Lin Yi's mouth go dry. But Lin Yi was still very calm. Cheng Yi was a beauty, and pushing her down would be a great achievement, but Lin Yi didn't have any relationship with her. He had Xiao Xiao, the miss, and Shu at home, and he didn't push her down yet. Pushing Cheng Yi first. Lin Yi wasn't that careless. If it were the miss, Shu, Wang Xinyan, or Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi would have pushed the boat with the current. Even if it was Han Jingjing, Ling Shan, or Sun Jingyi. But Cheng Yi, there was no relationship at all, and Cheng Yi was clearly a spy. Lin Yi didn't even know what her goal was. If he really pushed her down, things wouldn't be clear. Should he follow her and harm Shu Shahan, or kill her? Lin Yi would be in a difficult position, so he might as well push Cheng Yi away. Chapter 32-36. Ah! Cheng Yi sniffed Lin Yi's manly scent. She was a little aroused, but she didn't expect that Lin Yi didn't want to touch her at all. She was a little disappointed. To be honest, after spending time with Lin Yi, Shu Shahan's heart was secretly in love with him, and Cheng Yi actually had a good impression of Lin Yi. It was just that the huge pressure on her would sometimes cover up this good impression. When Cheng Yi wanted to get rid of this pressure, her good impression of Lin Yi would suddenly be released, just like when Shu Shahan found her mother. Cheng Yi didn't say anything. She silently turned around and walked to the door. She bent down and picked up her pajamas from the floor. However, Lin Yi secretly swallowed his saliva. The moment Cheng Yi bent down, the mysterious area under her body was right in front of Lin Yi's eyes. It made Lin Yi feel like his blood was about to burst. Lin Yi felt that Cheng Yi did it on purpose. Yes, Cheng Yi did it on purpose. She was a little unconvinced. Before, she wanted to give her body to Lin Yi out of helplessness, but Lin Yi rejected her. It made Cheng Yi feel hurt. Wasn't she pretty? Wasn't she sexy? Wasn't her figure good? Why did Lin Yi reject her? Therefore, Cheng Yi thought of ways to seduce Lin Yi again. When she quickly turned around, she saw Lin Yi's face was a little red. She immediately smiled. It seemed that Lin Yi wasn't really calm. It was just that his willpower was good. He definitely had some thoughts about her. Thinking of this, Cheng Yi felt a little balanced again. Although Cheng Yi wore her pajamas, it was just a nightgown. There was nothing underneath, and there were no buttons on the top either. There was only a belt around the waist that tied the nightgown up. If Cheng Yi sat down, her upper body would be faintly discernible. Cheng Yi was like a wild cat. She smiled slyly and sat in front of Lin Yi. From Lin Yi's angle, he could see her chest through her collar. Ahem. Lin Yi was a little helpless. He reluctantly turned his eyes away and said to Cheng Yi, "Tell me, why are you looking for me?" "Sex." Cheng Yi said. "Phut." Cough, cough, cough. Lin Yi coughed after hearing Cheng Yi's words. "I'm serious. You've seen it just now. It's true." Cheng Yi shrugged innocently, revealing a large gap in her neckline. Lin Yi's gaze was attracted by Cheng Yi's sex again. He didn't expect to see something he shouldn't have seen again. He couldn't help but feel a little speechless. "Okay. Actually, I'm here to be honest with you." Cheng Yi knew that enough was enough. If she kept going with Lin Yi might find it interesting at first. But after a while, he might kick her out. That would be a tragedy for her. Earth class early phase. "I've known for a long time." Lin Yi put away his awkward smile and said directly when they got down to business. "How did you know? When did you find out? Or did you already know my identity?" Cheng Yi asked in surprise. "From the first time I saw you, I already knew. When Shu Shahan went out with us, I already suspected you, but I wasn't sure." Lin Yi said, "You're right. You suspected me then? Cheng Yi was stunned. She didn't expect to be exposed so early. She couldn't help but feel a little discouraged. Lin Yi, I'm a star. Being good at acting is my specialty. You suspected me the first time you saw me? Am I that bad? It has nothing to do with your acting. Lin Yi waved his hand. I have an ability that allows me to see the level of a person's strength. As long as it's a spiritual practitioner, they don't need to use their practitioner's arts to know their level. Of course, you can also report this ability to your master, Feng Tianhu. You know? Cheng Yi's eyes widened. She didn't expect Lin Yi to be able to guess that she was Feng Tianhu's person. She couldn't help but feel a little awkward. Don't worry. I won't say anything. I didn't tell Feng Tianhu about the blood-clothed underworld sect helping to kill the Grand Elder of the Black Horse Gang. I only said that Han and I left, leaving you in the room. Then, the Grand Elder died. Ha ha. Lin Yi smiled and didn't deny it. Since Cheng Yi decided to be honest, she naturally wouldn't be on the same side as Feng Tianhu. So this was reasonable. Then why didn't you say that you knew that I was a practitioner and suspected me? Cheng Yi didn't dwell on the previous topic. Lin Yi didn't say anything, which meant that Lin Yi didn't want to pursue this matter. This also meant that she had hope of getting Lin Yi's forgiveness. I saw it, so I'm not sure. Lin Yi shook his head and explained, with your strength, killing Feng Sanhuang and Xu Shahan was a very easy thing to do. You didn't need to rely on outsiders. So, although I suspected that you led us into a dark alley that day, there were too many unexplainable things, so I'm not sure. So that's how it is. Cheng Yi was stunned and shook her head with a bitter smile. Actually, Feng Tianhu wanted me to do it myself, but Xiao Han and I are from the same sect. Although I approached Xiao Han with a purpose, but, as time passed, the relationship between me and Xiao Han became deeper and deeper. When I was sure that Xiao Han was Feng Tianlin's illegitimate daughter, I couldn't do it anymore. Looks like you're not someone with a heart of stone. That means you can still be saved. Lin Yi nodded. This was also the reason why he let Cheng Yi live and didn't kill her. Cheng Yi was a loyal person, then how are you going to explain to Feng Tianhu? I'll say that I'm a celebrity, a public figure. After all, I make a living in the common world. If I kill someone myself, it'll be fine if they don't find out. But if they find out, then I'll have to run. Cheng Yi said, I can't just run back to my family and sect like other cultivators. My identity is there, and Feng Tianhu also needs me to help him earn money in the common world. So he didn't hesitate and agreed to my suggestion. He sent someone else to kill Xu Shahan, and I'll work with him from the inside. You're pretty smart. Lin Yi didn't think that Cheng Yi wasn't stupid. She came up with an excuse like this. Why do you work for Feng Tianhu? Chapter 32-37. Oh. Lin Yi was stunned. He didn't expect Cheng Yi to have a younger brother. Then he taught us how to cultivate. When I was 10 years old, my brother was taken away by Feng Tianhu and we were separated. I was asked to be trained as a celebrity, and my brother never appeared in front of me again. Cheng Yi couldn't help but sigh as she said this. Feng Tianhu used your brother as a threat to force you to do things for him? Lin Yi suddenly understood. If that was the case, Cheng Yi had her own difficulties. She was swaying between her brother and her best sister. She couldn't bear to give up one of them. It seemed like he was lucky that he didn't kill her. So she had this kind of unknown pain. Yes. Cheng Yi nodded. Every once in a while, Feng Tianhu would send me pictures of my brother. He told me that my brother was living well and was still cultivating. But the more he did that, the more I felt uneasy. If I betrayed him, Feng Tianhu would definitely harm my brother. Then why did you choose to be honest with me? Lin Yi asked. Because I can't let Xiao Han shield me from the wind and rain because of my mistake. I don't want to hide it anymore, it's too painful for me. Cheng Yi shook her head and blinked her big eyes. Anne. Feng Tianhu is afraid of you. Afraid of me? You know the truth. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. As expected, Cheng Yi needed something from him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have seduced him. It seemed like Cheng Yi was willing to risk it all for her brother. But Feng Tianhu doesn't know. Cheng Yi said matter-of-factly. I'll help you ask what's going on. Lin Yi sighed and said, this is a bit troublesome. Feng Tianhu might not let you go so easily. What do you mean? Cheng Yi was slightly stunned. Feng Tianhu is a sinister person. You don't know that. Lin Yi waved his hand and explained, he's a person who will do anything to achieve his goals. If he could kill his own son to frame Feng Shipian, then you can imagine what kind of person he is. What I'm afraid of is that if I don't ask, Feng Tianhu will have a hostage. He won't be afraid of me doing anything to him. Ah. Cheng Yi was shocked. Lin Yi's analysis was very reasonable. It could be said that he accurately grasped Feng Tianhu's personality. This meant that if Lin Yi asked this, it would mean that she and Lin Yi had some sort of agreement. Feng Tianhu could use her brother to threaten Lin Yi, so that Lin Yi wouldn't dare to do anything to him. So, I can only ask Feng Shipian about this and see if he knows. If I ask Feng Tianhu, not only will he not return your brother, but he will also use it to threaten you and do something even worse, Lin Yi said. I'm sorry, I was too naive. Cheng Yi was too worried. She just thought that Feng Tianhu was afraid of Lin Yi, but she didn't think that if Feng Tianhu had a hostage, it would be equivalent to having a life-saving talisman. Would he let go so easily? That was obviously not the case. I'll ask Feng Shipian first, Lin Yi said. Cheng Yi quickly nodded. He dialed up Feng Shipian's number. Boss. Feng Shipian was already asleep, but when his phone rang, he saw that it was Lin Yi's number and immediately picked it up. What's up? Shipian, first of all, you can tell your father that Xiaohan's mother has been found, but don't let anyone else know, do you understand? Lin Yi said. Ah. Found. Feng Shipian was startled. He didn't think that Xu Shahan's mother, his father's old lover, had been found. This was good news, and it could solve one of his father's problems. As for telling others, Feng Shipian wasn't stupid. Don't worry, boss, I won't say anything. If my mother finds out, she might cause trouble again. As long as you know. Lin Yi nodded. Feng Tianhu already knew about this, but Lin Yi wanted to hide it from Dongfang Xiaotsue. Lin Yi didn't want the Dongfang family's people to get involved. After all, Lin Yi's strength wasn't real. If too many people came, it would be exposed sooner or later. Of course, there was no need to tell this to Feng Shipian. He continued, she is the old dean of Songshan Orphanage, but it's good that your father knows. Don't do anything for now, or it will be exposed. I understand. Feng Shipian nodded. One more thing, just now, Feng Tianhu found a great elder of the Black Horse Society to assassinate the old dean. Lin Yi said. My third uncle. He found someone from the Black Horse Society? The great elder of the Black Horse Society. Wouldn't that be a peak late phase heaven class master? What happened to him? Feng Shipian was shocked and quickly asked. Dead. Lin Yi said, the old dean is fine, don't worry. That's good, boss is the best. Feng Shipian was very surprised at how a sky-class late-phase peak master died, but there were rumors in the ancient times that Lin Yi could instantly kill sky-class late-phase peak masters. It seemed like the rumors were true. One last thing, do you know Cheng Yi? Lin Yi asked. Cheng Yi? I know her, my sister's junior sister. Feng Shipian knew that Xu Shahan was his sister, so he often paid attention to her news. Naturally, he knew about Cheng Yi. No. I'm talking about Cheng Yi's other identity. Lin Yi said. What other identity does Cheng Yi have? Feng Shipian paused, not understanding what Lin Yi meant. She's a chess piece of Feng Tianhu. Lin Yi saw that Feng Shipian didn't know about Cheng Yi, so he explained, no, Cheng Yi has turned to the light, but her brother is in Feng Tianhu's hands. Can you help me ask around? Her brother? That's fine, what's his name? If he's in our ancient Feng family, then there's hope. If he's not, then there's nothing I can do. Feng Shipian said. What's your brother's name? Lin Yi turned to look at Cheng Yi. Cheng Iran. Cheng Yi said, he's 2 years younger than me. He should be 16 this year. I heard that he just reached the early phase heaven class master. Cheng Iran, 16 years old, early phase heaven class master. Lin Yi said. Chapter 32-38. Why? Lin Yi paused. Ancient Feng family, I'm the only heaven-class master among the younger generation. 16 years old. Younger than me, how could I not know? Feng Shipian explained with a bitter smile. I see. All right, then help me keep an eye out. Lin Yi frowned. It seemed like Feng Tianhu hid Cheng Yiran, but Lin Yi was a bit puzzled. How did Feng Tianhu control Cheng Yiran? Logically speaking, Cheng Yiran's strength was already very powerful. She could totally escape and not be controlled by Feng Tianhu. No problem, I will definitely keep an eye out for you. Feng Shipian said. If I directly kill my way to the ancient Feng family and kill Feng Tianhu, do you have the confidence to find that Cheng Yiran? Lin Yi pondered for a moment and asked. No. Feng Shipian quickly said. No. Why? Lin Yi paused. Boss, within the Feng family, competition is not forbidden. This was tacitly agreed by my grandfather. Now that everyone knows that you are my boss, if you come to the Feng family and kill my third uncle, then it will be very difficult for me. Colluding with outsiders to assassinate a family member, I will be kicked out of the ancient Feng family. Feng Shipian smiled bitterly. Feng Tianhu can just find someone to assassinate Xu Shahan? Lin Yi asked back. That's in the dark. To be honest, the ancient Feng family has never acknowledged my sister's identity. If she dies, my grandfather won't say anything. But boss, if you come directly to the family, that's different. Feng Shipian was a kind person. He definitely wouldn't do something like this. Then we'll talk about it later. Lin Yi shook his head. Actually, even if Lin Yi went to look for Feng Tianhu, with this guy's ruthlessness, he might not be able to tell him where Cheng Yiran was hiding. Lin Yi was just saying it casually, he didn't have absolute confidence that he could defeat the ancient Feng clan. Once he attacked the ancient Feng clan, it would arouse the fear of the ancient Dongfang clan and the Everyday Sun sect. If the three clans joined forces, he would be finished. After hanging up the phone, Lin Yi looked at the disappointed Cheng Yi and comforted her. Don't worry. This matter has to be done step by step. Your brother is in Feng Tianhu's hands, so he shouldn't be in danger. For the time being, you just need to feign civility with him. Discuss with me what he wants you to do, and I'll tell you what to do. All right. Cheng Yi thought about it. It was true. After so many years, a little more time wouldn't make a difference. Also, Lin Yi was right. As long as she was still working for Feng Tianhu had no reason to do anything to Feng Shipian. Let Feng Shipian find out about Cheng Yiran's whereabouts first. It wouldn't be too late for Lin Yi to make a move then, so he said, just now, Feng Tianhu called and asked me to spy on you and test your attitude to see if you have any intention of doing anything to Feng Tianhu. Oh. Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He didn't think that Feng Tianhu's intention was involved in the previous matter. It seemed that Cheng Yi listened to half of Feng Tianhu's suggestion. After thinking about it, Lin Yi said, then tell him that you didn't succeed. I was slightly injured today, and I just leveled up, so I didn't, that with you. But you've already made a good impression on me, so I won't do anything to him for the time being. Because I asked for Feng Shipian's opinion, just tell him what Feng Shipian said. Okay, I understand. Cheng Yi blushed and nodded. Okay, go back and call Feng Tianhu. Rest early and don't think too much. Lin Yi comforted her. Okay. Cheng Yi nodded and stood up. But she didn't leave. She hesitated for a moment, then suddenly leaned down and kissed Lin Yi's forehead like a chick pecking rice. The scenery of her chest was reflected in Lin Yi's eyes again. Actually, with Lin Yi's strength, he could have completely avoided it, but Cheng Yi didn't have any bad intentions, and Lin Yi was still a little reluctant, so he accepted it. Cheng Yi saw that Lin Yi didn't avoid it and was a little happy, but she didn't dare to take another step. She was afraid that Lin Yi would chase her away, so she ran out of Lin Yi's room first. Lin Yi looked at Cheng Yi's back and shook his head. In fact, Cheng Yi wasn't a scheming girl. After Cheng Yi returned to her room, she dialed Feng Tianhu's number. So fast. Feng Tianhu had been holding the phone, waiting for Cheng Yi's news. Otherwise, he wouldn't feel at ease and couldn't sleep. If Lin Yi really wanted to deal with him, he would have to think about how to escape. Yeah. I took off my clothes, and Lin Yi was a bit interested in my body. But he was injured today, and he'd just broken through. He needed to stabilize his strength, so he just hugged me and talked. He didn't do anything else. Cheng Yi reported to Feng Tianhu. She didn't hide anything and used a narrative tone. Oh, Lin Yi was injured and broke through? Feng Tianhu was surprised. Yes, Lin Yi fought with the supreme elder of the Black Horse Gang and was injured, but he also broke through to the peak of the early phase of heaven rank, Cheng Yi said. Motherfucker. Feng Tianhu cursed. An early phase of heaven rank could kill a peak of the late phase of heaven rank, and now that he broke through, wouldn't he be able to instantly kill a peak of the late phase of heaven rank? I don't know about that. Let's not talk about the fact that Lin Yi is only interested in my body. He doesn't really like me. Even if he really likes me, he might not tell me the limit of his strength. Cheng Yi said. It was reasonable for her to say so, which made Feng Tianhu even more confused and bewildered. That's right. Feng Tianhu nodded. Then does Lin Yi know that I was the one who dealt with him? Yes, the supreme elder of the Black Horse Gang betrayed you before he died, Cheng Yi said. What? This old thing, the supreme elder? He's not reliable at all. Feng Tianhu was so angry that he cursed. Why did he have to drag someone down with him after he died? However, he still hurriedly asked, did Lin Yi want to cause trouble for me? Yes, but he called Feng Shipian. Lin Yi said that he wanted to kill his way to your door and settle the score with you, but Feng Shipian stopped him. Cheng Yi said. Why? Feng Tianhu was a little puzzled. His nephew actually wanted to protect him? Chapter 32-39. That's right, our ancient Feng family is indeed like that. Feng Tianhu nodded. So, colluding with outsiders to assassinate a family member will result in being kicked out of the ancient Feng family. Cheng Yi said the same. Haha. Feng Tianhu laughed. Did Lin Yi agree? Yes, this phone call was made in front of me, Cheng Yi said. That's good, that's good. Feng Tianhu let out a sigh of relief. You did well. Don't worry, I'll take some recent photos of Iran and send them to you. You'll be a spy next to Lin Yi. If Lin Yi does anything strange, you have to tell me immediately, especially if it's about me. Okay, thank you, boss. Cheng Yi pretended to be grateful. No need to thank me, I know you hate me in your heart. We'll just take what we need. Feng Tianhu said indifferently, and Lin Yi is a talented young man. You won't lose anything by following him. It should be fun to show off. To be honest, I don't have a way out. If I knew Lin Yi would be like this, I would have let Nitian recognize him as the boss long ago. Would it even be Feng Shishan's turn? Cheng Yi didn't say anything and hung up. The next morning, Cheng Yi went to eat breakfast with Xu Shahan. Obviously, Xu Shahan didn't know that Cheng Yi was a spy. Cheng Yi wanted to say something a few times, but just when she was about to speak, she saw Lin Yi walk into the orphanage's cafeteria. He shook his head at Cheng Yi, signaling her not to say anything for now. Cheng Yi couldn't help but blush. She remembered what happened last night, but she listened to Lin Yi. Lin Yi said to wait, so she'll wait. The misunderstanding between Cheng Yi and Xu Shahan could be easily solved between the two of them, but with the dean here, it wouldn't be good. The dean would be angry because she didn't understand the relationship between Cheng Yi and Xu Shahan. Therefore, it was better to wait until they went back. It was better to be happy in the orphanage. Old Dean, I called Feng Shipian yesterday. He will tell Uncle Tian Lin your identity. However, Uncle Tian Lin might only make a phone call. It's not convenient for him to come over right now. Lin Yi said. I understand. It's already good enough that I was able to make a phone call. The old dean, on the other hand, appeared very calm and not very agitated. After so many years, it was clear that she had already gotten over it. Lin Yi nodded and didn't say anything else. After all, this was someone else's family matter. After breakfast, Lin Yi, Xu Shahan, and Cheng Yi said goodbye to the dean and the others, returning to Donghai City. When they got home, Cheng Yi dragged Xu Shahan upstairs to talk about business. Yu Shu and Han Jingjing, on the other hand, sat on the sofa and chatted. Seeing that Lin Yi came back, Yu Shu pulled Lin Yi and asked him about the interesting things in Songshan. Lin Yi roughly told them about the Grand Elder of the Black Horse Gang and the Bloodcloak Yellow Spring sect. Lin Yi didn't need to hide anything from Yushu and Jing Jing. It was a shocking story, and it made Yushu and Jing Jing feel lucky. After that, Yushu went to watch TV. Han Jingjing, on the other hand, went to talk to Lin Yi about the second-level automatic cauldron. Lin Yi bro, Jing Jing's research on the second-level automatic cauldron is almost done. The only problem now is that only a second-level refiner can use it. Han Jingjing said as she took out a cauldron from Lin Yi's cabinet. Han Jingjing took advantage of Lin Yi's absence to take over Lin Yi's room and started researching the cauldron, waiting for Lin Yi to come back. Oh, isn't a second-level automatic cauldron for a second-level refiner? Could it be for a first-level refiner to use? This doesn't match. Lin Yi looked at Han Jingjing with some doubts. He didn't understand what she meant. No, Lin Yi bro, in fact, you have to know that our first-level automatic cauldron is so popular because of its low threshold. As long as you can condense the alchemy fire, you can use it with the automatic cauldron to refine a first-level medicinal pill. However, the second-level automatic cauldron is different. The person who uses it is a second-level refiner, and the threshold to become a second-level refiner is much higher than condensing the alchemy fire. Han Jingjing said, it's impossible to become a second-level refiner if you can only condense the alchemy fire. Han Jingjing said, it is impossible to become a second-grade alchemist if you can only condense alchemy fire. Second-grade alchemists are cultivators of fire and wood dual attributes, and most of these people's alchemy level is not low. Although it can't be said that they have a 100% success rate, but their dependence on the second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron is certainly not as big as the first-grade automatic medicinal cauldron, and there is a crucial problem, that is, the number of second-grade alchemists is limited. There are only so many. After we sell our medicinal cauldron to them, it is impossible to have sales again, unless the medicinal cauldron in their hands is broken. This is true. After listening, Lin Yi suddenly realized that what Han Jingjing said was not unreasonable. Under the cute and quiet appearance, Liu Jinghan was a business genius. She had analyzed all these things. Lin Yi was not good at business, so naturally, he didn't think as much as Han Jingjing. So, if our second-level automatic cauldron can be given to the first-level alchemist, even ordinary cultivators can use it, there will definitely be a surge in sale. Han Jingjing said. The theory is reasonable, but I'm afraid it will be difficult to realize. Lin Yi shook his head and said, not everyone is like Han Jingjing. You mean, let those who condense the alchemy fire cultivate to the second-level alchemy fire and then use this cauldron? This is a good idea. Han Jingjing's eyes lit up. Lin Yi bro is more thoughtful than Jing Jing. It is not difficult to let them cultivate, and there is no requirement for the success rate of alchemy. As long as they can condense the second-level alchemy fire, it is enough. Jing Jing. You say that, I am a little ashamed. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and said, if I didn't know that you are Liu Jinghan, I would really think that you are praising me with your character, but you are Liu Jinghan. How can I think of it, and you don't? Chapter 3240. Lin Yi was taken aback by Han Jingjing's seriousness, but he still nodded. Maybe I'm thinking from the perspective of a practitioner, and you're thinking from the perspective of a businessman, so we're thinking from different perspectives. Yeah, if that's the case, we can throw in a guidebook on how to condense a second-level fire. As long as the alchemists who can condense a first-level fire increase their fire level, they'll be able to use a second-level cauldron. Han Jingjing nodded. Then, Lin Yi was about to say that they'll follow this train of thought, but before he could finish his sentence, his phone rang. It was Kang Xiaobo. Lin Yi gestured to Han Jingjing to wait, and picked up the phone. Xiaobo, what's up? Boss, Little Peach brought me an important message. The Sky Elixir sect is preparing to mass-produce first-level cauldrons. Xiaobo said. The Sky Elixir sect's first-level automatic cauldrons aren't cheap right now, and Miracle Dr. Guan's cauldrons can be lowered at any time. Kang Xiaoming's worried that we won't be able to beat them in the next step, so he's planning to use a price war to beat them. That's why he's planning to mass-produce them to lower the cost. Oh! Lin Yi was startled. He didn't expect Kang Mingming to be so smart. However, this intelligence wasn't used in the right place. Lin Yi was prepared to give up on the first-level cauldron market. After all, the market would soon be saturated. Even if new alchemists and disciples bought them, there wouldn't be too many. Mass production like Kang Ming Ming would indeed stimulate sales. After all, the price was cheaper, and some sects would buy a few to save for a rainy day. However, it was almost impossible to sell them all at once. There needed to be a long digestion process. Xiaobo, how about this? Let Little Peach spread the news that our cauldrons are indeed going to be discounted. Lin Yi said after some thought. Last time, Zhao Ming had used Liu Tianli as a hostage and made a fool out of him. It pissed Lin Yi off, but because of Han Jingjing, Lin Yi couldn't just ignore Liu Tianli. He could only suffer in silence. But now that Zhao Ming had sent himself to his doorstep, Lin Yi would make him suffer in silence. The Sky Elixir sect had made a lot of money from the first-level cauldrons, and it wasn't any less than Lin Yi. After all, Kang Ming Ming's cauldrons were updated very quickly. This kind of fake price and service would naturally be very popular, taking up half of the market. However, Lin Yi was going to make him lose as much as he earned. I got it. Kang Xiaobo didn't ask why and just nodded. He was ready to carry out Lin Yi's plan. After all, the cauldrons weren't sold through the medical company's channels. Kang Xiaobo didn't need to ask too much. After hanging up the call with Kang Xiaobo, Lin Yi turned to Han Jingjing and said, "Don't develop any smart functions for the second-level cauldrons. It will be the same as the first-level cauldrons. Only a second-level alchemist who can control the temperature of the cauldron will work. The automatic version will be delayed for now." Ah, okay. Han Jingjing paused and nodded. She immediately understood what Lin Yi meant. Lin Yi Gij doesn't want the second-level cauldron to affect the sales of the first-level cauldrons, right? That's right. If those alchemists who can activate the first-level alchemy fire can refine the second-level elixir after a little practice, then who would refine this kind of first-level elixir with poor effects? Lin Yi nodded and said, "After the second-level cauldron is launched, sell the first-level cauldron at a discount. Don't worry about the sales of the second-level cauldron for the time being. Adopt the strategy of starvation sales. Only sell them at the auction and not in the company." Okay. Han Jingjing completely listened to Lin Yi's arrangement. In this way, Kang Ming Ming won't be on guard against the second-level cauldron. He will think that it's not easy for us to make it. Moreover, the sales will be low and the demand will be high. This will also give him enough time to spend a lot of money to research the second-level cauldron. Then, when he is almost done, we will directly replace it. That's right. Directly replace the chip circuit board inside and let him crack it for nothing. Lin Yi said. Okay, Jingjing understands. Han Jingjing replied. In the following days, Han Jingjing returned to Yangjing City under the identity of Liu Jinghan. She began to busy herself with the matters related to the second-level cauldron's launch. Lin Yi also welcomed the first final exam of his university days. However, Lin Yi was a person who Boss Bai specially approved to not participate in the final exam. This made Bai Weituo and the others very envious. However, Lin Yi still participated in the exam. It was just that he hadn't seen Wang Xinyan for a long time. He wanted to take the opportunity of the final exam to see her. To be honest, it had been a while since they separated. Lin Yi still missed Wang Xinyan. After all, they slept on the same bed for so many days and nights. Lin Yi also had a lot of feelings for Wang Xinyan. However, Lin Yi didn't have any reason to let Wang Xinyan go to his villa now. At the entrance of the exam hall, Lin Yi just happened to see Tiger Right and Zhaolong walking over together. The two also saw Lin Yi, and their eyes were a little evasive. After all, Lin Yi was now famous in the ancient world. With the level of the hidden Haosyu, they weren't a match for Lin Yi at all. However, since he saw him, he couldn't not greet him. Tiger Right knew that he might not be able to shake Lin Yi in this lifetime. Not to mention him, even Zhaolong's big brother, Kang Ming Ming, had a headache when he saw Lin Yi. What else could he do? He could just act like a grandson. "Ah, isn't this Boss Lin Yi? It's been a long time, I've missed you." Right Coiling Tiger greeted him with a smile on his face. "Oh, Tiger Right, what are you looking for me for? Don't tell me you have something good for me again." Lin Yi's heart moved slightly, and he thought of an idea. "Ah, good stuff. I don't have anything that's good enough for you, Boss Lin Yi. Tiger Right felt a chill in his heart. Could it be that he had shown off too much before, and now that Lin Yi was strong, he came to take advantage of him? Chapter 3241. Lin Yi looked at the right coiling tiger's flickering eyes. How could he not guess what he was thinking? In fact, Lin Yi really didn't want to put the right family to death. After all, the right family had some relationship with the Heavenly Elixir sect's young master, Silkworm Change, and Silkworm Change was a person that Lin Yi respected and was grateful to. Therefore, Lin Yi didn't want Silkworm Change to be in a difficult position. Therefore, even though Lin Yi knew that the hidden right family had a third-grade medicine cauldron, he didn't snatch it. This was a matter of his principles. Right coiling tiger, I heard that your family has a lot of medicine cauldrons. Lin Yi narrowed his eyes and asked. There's only one third-grade medicine cauldron. Right coiling tiger was shocked and said subconsciously, I didn't ask you about third-grade medicine cauldrons. Are there a lot of second-grade ones? Asked Lin Yi. Second grade, there are indeed a lot of them. Right coiling tiger was relieved. Although he didn't know what Lin Yi meant, it was fine as long as Lin Yi didn't want a third-grade medicine cauldron. Second-grade medicine cauldron didn't matter. Although the cost wasn't low, it couldn't be compared to a third-grade medicine cauldron. How many? Asked Lin Yi. A few dozen. Boss Lin Yi, what do you want? Right coiling tiger was somewhat inexplicable. He didn't know why Lin Yi cared about the number of second-grade medicine cauldrons. Oh, sell them all to me, said Lin Yi. Sell them to you? Why do you want to buy second-grade medicine cauldrons? Right coiling tiger was even more puzzled. Why did Lin Yi buy so many second-grade medicine cauldrons? I say, Boss Lin Yi, if you need one or two, I can give them to you. There's no use for you to buy so many second-grade medicine cauldrons. These things aren't easy to break, right? Why are you talking so much nonsense? Are you selling or not? Just say it. Asked Lin Yi with a frown. Right coiling tiger saw Lin Yi frown and thought to himself, not good. Is this guy angry? Thinking of this, right coiling tiger could only say, sell it, why wouldn't I sell it? This thing is not a rare resource. In fact, the Heavenly Elixir sect also consigns a lot of second-grade cauldrons to the Cultivators Trade Association. They sell them for 50 million each. Just give me 30 million each. Speaking of this, Yu Panhu looked at Lin Yi carefully. After all, 30 million was indeed a capital. The Yu family bought it from the Heavenly Elixir sect at this price. Yu Panhu really didn't dare to ask for an exorbitant price from Lin Yi. However, if he didn't ask, he was afraid that Lin Yi wouldn't even give him 30 million. In fact, if Lin Yi didn't pay, he could only accept it. Who dared to provoke Lin Yi? 30 million? Okay, how much? Lin Yi didn't bargain with him. After all, 30 million was considered cheap compared to the price of Lin Yi's second-grade cauldrons. Around 30. Boss Lin Yi, why don't you give me 1 billion and I'll give all of them to you? Maybe 35 or 36. Right coiling tiger saw that Lin Yi didn't bargain and breathed a sigh of relief. He took the initiative to give some to Lin Yi. Okay, Lin Yi nodded and said, tell my family that I'll send Wu Chentian to get it now. Oh, okay. Right coiling tiger nodded and quickly went to call his family. Jiaolong, on the other hand, stood at the side and didn't say a word. He frowned slightly. What was the use of Lin Yi buying so many second-grade cauldrons? From Jiaolong's point of view, Lin Yi didn't buy these cauldrons for his own use. Lin Yi didn't need so many cauldrons. If it wasn't for his own use, was he going to sell them? But this market had always been controlled by the Sky Elixir sect, and Lin Yi just bought them and then sold them. What profit was there to speak of? Could it be that it had something to do with first-grade cauldrons? Was it used to develop second-grade cauldrons? Only research could use up so many cauldrons. Otherwise, they wouldn't break if they were just used for elixirs. Jiaolong had to admit that Jiaolong was quite smart. He could guess the general direction, but he didn't know that Lin Yi was using these cauldrons to make the first batch of second-grade cauldrons. Jiaolong had fallen into a misconception. He thought that Lin Yi could use other materials to replace first-grade cauldrons, But it didn't mean that he couldn't use other materials to replace second-grade cauldrons. Lin Yi bought these 30 or so cauldrons to experiment, to find a replacement. After all, if Lin Yi wanted to mass produce, how could 30 or so cauldrons be enough? Once Lin Yi produced the cauldrons, the raw materials would be stuck in the hands of the Sky Elixir sect. If the Sky Elixir sect stopped producing second-grade cauldrons, then Lin Yi's first-grade cauldrons would have to stop production as well. If that happened, then Lin Yi would have to share some of the profits with the Sky Elixir sect. Otherwise, the Sky Elixir sect might as well fight to the death. This way, the Sky Elixir sect wouldn't have to waste their energy trying to replicate the cauldrons. They could just ask Lin Yi for a share of the profits. However, Zhaolong would still tell Kang Mingming about this and have him prepare the necessary measures. Zhaolong, why are you still here? Lin Yi looked at Zhaolong and asked faintly, didn't you say that you weren't coming? You guys have final exams, and I have to hand in my final paper. Of course, I have to come to Boss Bai's class. Zhaolong said unnaturally. Actually, he saw that Lin Yi wasn't coming to school recently, so he thought that he could take advantage of this opportunity to chase after Wang Xinyan. At first, he thought that Lin Yi wouldn't be happy if he found out, but with Kang Mingming, the elder of the Sky Elixir sect, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to kill him even if he was unhappy. But recently, there were rumors that Lin Yi could not only kill Sky-class masters at the peak of the late phase, but he could even kill Sky-class masters at the peak of the late phase. His strength had reached an unimaginable level. Oh, I hope you're not here to harass my girlfriend, Lin Yi looked at Zhaolong and said faintly. That? Of course not. Zhaolong's face turned green from anger at Lin Yi's words. What do you mean your girlfriend? She's my fiancée, all right? But Zhaolong didn't dare to refute. He could only swallow his anger and say, then, if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving. Goodbye. Lin Yi turned and entered the classroom. Zhaolong was here to find Wang Xinyan, but Lin Yi was here, so he turned and left. He also had to report to Kang Mingming. Lin Yi sent a text to Wu Chentian, asking him to take 1 billion from Han Jingjing to buy a second-level cauldron from the hidden house Yu. Lin Yi also sent a text to Han Jingjing, saying that the first batch of second-level cauldrons would be made from real cauldrons. Han Jingjing listened to Lin Yi's suggestion and naturally agreed. This way, when the second-level cauldrons hit the market, they could make Kang Mingming of the Sky Elixir sect lower his guard and trick him into thinking that he was going to supply Lin Yi with another batch of second-level cauldrons that couldn't be sold. Chapter 3242. Although Chen Tian was from the common house Wu, the hidden house Yu didn't dare offend him or lie to him. The second-grade cauldrons they gave him were all real. After all, Chen Tian's identity in House Wu wasn't anything special, but he was Lin Yi's follower. Who would dare offend someone related to Lin Yi now? Lin Yi had killed a Sky-class late-phase peak full mastery for a person he was protecting. Couldn't he do the same for his follower Wu Chentian? There was a precedent, too. Didn't the common house Yu and the hidden house Zhao fall just like that? When the hidden house Yu handed over the second-grade cauldrons to Chentian, Zhaolong called Kang Mingming, "Brother, what's up?" Ever since Kang Mingming became the son-in-law of the elder of Chen, his vision had broadened and he wouldn't fight with Zhaolong for the head of the house. The relationship between the two brothers had improved quite a bit. Now, both of them were working for the benefit of House Kang. "Zhaoming, I met Lin Yi in school," Zhaolong said directly. "Lin Yi went to school? What did he do?" Kang Mingming was very sensitive to the name Lin Yi. He asked immediately when he heard Lin Yi's name. "I think he went for the final exam, but he revealed something important. He bought more than 30 second-grade cauldrons from Yu Coiling Tiger," Zhaolong said. "Bought second-grade cauldrons from Yu Coiling Tiger? Why does he need so many second-grade cauldrons?" Kang Mingming didn't know how to react. "I'm not too sure, but according to my guess, maybe Lin Yi started working on second-grade automatic cauldrons. Why else would he buy so many second-grade cauldrons? There's no need for so many cauldrons to make pills. These things don't break easily," Zhaolong analyzed. "Brother, you're right." Kang Mingming was enlightened by Zhaolong's words. "If you didn't remind me, I'd still be guessing for a while. Does that mean that Lin Yi has started researching second-level automatic cauldrons?" It's possible. After all, with the competition from your heavenly elixir sect, their profits will only get smaller and smaller. If they don't develop new products, how can they maintain their market superiority? Jiaolong said. And I'm guessing that they've basically run out of resources to upgrade and encrypt first-grade cauldrons. There won't be any new breakthroughs, so they're probably planning to give up on this market. After a while, maybe they'll start a promotion. High-price promotion? Haha, I've thought about it. Plus, I got news from my spy today that Lin Yi is planning on lowering his prices for first-grade automatic cauldrons. But if he has a plan, I have a plan. I've already started mass-producing first-grade automatic cauldrons. Kang Mingming laughed. Don't worry, bro. I'll destroy Lin Yi's company. Let's see if he still has the heart to steal your girl. Oh, I'll be counting on you then. Jiaolong let out a breath of relief when he heard that Kang Mingming already had a plan. Lin Yi entered the classroom to see Wang Xinyan sitting at her familiar desk, reading a book. The exam was right around the corner, and Xinyan wasn't trying to cram for it. She was a girl who liked to read, after all. Usually, other than chatting with Lin Yi and Han Jingjing, she'd be reading alone in her seat. Lin Yi walked over and sat beside Xinyan. Xinyan frowned slightly when she felt someone sitting beside her. She didn't look over, her eyes still on her book. Lin Yi smiled faintly. It seemed like Jiaolong had been harassing Xinyan quite a bit lately, but Xinyan didn't pay attention to him at all. Xinyan clearly thought of him as Jiaolong now. Xinyan, how have you been? Lin Yi asked. Ah! Xinyan's body shook as she turned her head, her eyes filled with shock and joy. She hadn't expected Lin Yi to appear in school all of a sudden. To tell the truth, Xinyan had been missing Lin Yi a lot lately. She'd been able to get some news about Lin Yi from Han Jingjing when she still came to school, but Han Jingjing hadn't been coming to school recently, and Xinyan had lost her source of information. She wanted to give Lin Yi a call or go to Lin Yi's house, but she couldn't muster up the courage. After all, she couldn't help Lin Yi now. Xinyan didn't know if she could still be with Lin Yi in the future. She couldn't help Lin Yi with his training, and she felt guilty. She helped Lin Yi a little, but Lin Yi had to go to Snowy Valley to beg for treasures for her. She almost let Tang Yun down. She felt sorry for Lin Yi, and so she didn't contact Lin Yi recently. At first, Xinyan thought that he'd forgotten about her as time went on. Even the most intimate of two people would become estranged from each other. That little bit of warmth and tenderness in her memories would become a beautiful memory. But Lin Yi was there, sitting next to her just like how he used to do every day in school. At that moment, Xinyan had the illusion that Lin Yi had never disappeared in the first place. It was as if the last time he'd sat here was yesterday. Kang Jiaolong has been bothering you lately, right? Lin Yi said apologetically. I've been too busy recently, and I didn't come to school. I chased him away at the gate just now. Not really. I've been ignoring him. Xinyan explained subconsciously. I know. Lin Yi nodded. Don't bother with him next time. Just chase him away when he comes. I told him that you're my girlfriend, and he didn't say anything. Ah! Xinyan blushed. She couldn't believe it. Scared of you now? Yeah. Even the ancients are scared of me now. Lin Yi wasn't too happy about it. He sighed. At least they won't do anything to you right now, and they won't force you. But I don't know how long this will last. What do you mean? Xinyan blinked, not understanding what Lin Yi meant. Lin Yi didn't hide anything, and told Xinyan everything that had happened recently. Lin Yi came early, and there was no one in the classroom yet. He wasn't worried about eavesdropping. Chapter 32-43. But Xinyan was a little jealous that two big stars were living in Lin Yi's house. She didn't think much of it when Meng Yarrow and Shu were there, but two other women moving in all of a sudden. Xinyan didn't feel comfortable at all. But she didn't say anything. She knew that Lin Yi was a loyal person, and Feng Shipian was his follower. Lin Yi couldn't reject him when he asked to protect Shu Shahan. But Xinyan wasn't a scheming girl. She said impulsively, "Why don't I move back as well?" Ah! This time, it was Lin Yi's turn to be startled. He didn't think that Xinyan would make such a request. To tell the truth, Lin Yi approved of Xinyan going back. After all, They were used to living here. Xinyan, Yarou Yarou, and Shu got along well. Now, although Shu Shahan and Chengyi were at home, they were still a bit lacking compared to Shu. Shu Shahan and Chengyi were in the same room, and Yushu was alone in the room. She would be lonely, and Linyi thought that Shu would be quite happy if Xinyan went back. What I mean is, aren't you Earth Class Early Phase Peak? If I help you, will you be able to break through to Earth Class Mid Phase in a short amount of time? If you reach Earth Class Mid Phase, you might be able to kill Sky Class Late Phase Peak in one hit. At that time, you won't have to worry. Xinyan quickly explained. Actually, that was what she was thinking. That won't do. You know your body's condition. Right now, you're relying on the jade grass to maintain your body, but if I absorb more of your energy, your life will be in danger. Linyi shook his head decisively. It's good for you to come back and accompany Shu. Otherwise, Yarou Yarou will be very lonely after leaving. Man, you're right. I didn't think that Yarou Yarou was an inheritor as well. She left just like that. Xinyan was emotional. She didn't think that Yarou Yarou would leave the villa in the blink of an eye. Xinyan didn't say anything after hearing Linyi's rejection. After all, she couldn't change Linyi's decision. Xinyan wanted to help Linyi, but she didn't want to cause trouble for Linyi. If her life was in danger, Linyi would do anything to help her. That wasn't what Xinyan wanted. Then come back with me tonight. Linyi smiled. This time, Zhaolong won't come to your house anymore. Ha. Xinyan smiled happily as well. The exam questions were easy for Linyi. Linyi had the right to be exempted, but he was just accompanying Xinyan. Linyi's appearance pleased Boss Bai as well. Linyi had his privileges, but as a disciple, he had to follow the rules. Boss Bai was happy to see that. But what Linyi didn't expect was that on the second day after Xinyan moved into the villa, Linyi received a call from young Chichi. Bai Weituo walked over after the exam, excited to see Linyi. I say, Lin bro, where have you been all this time? I haven't seen you around, and my grandpa won't tell me. Bai Weituo asked curiously. Haha, it's nothing. There's a guest here, and I've been busy with her stuff. Linyi said. I see. Bai Weituo nodded. What are you planning to do this holiday? He Mayu and I are planning to go sight. Are you coming? He Mayu was the one who suggested that Bai Weituo come to Linyi. According to Bai Weituo's thinking, Linyi must be very busy, and Linyi might not have the time. But Bai Weituo said that they were bros, and it'd be more fun with more people. So, Bai Weituo decided to give it a try. Oh, where are you guys going then? Linyi was pressed for time, but Bai Weituo was one of his best friends back in university, especially the grandson of Professor Bai. Linyi had a good relationship with him, so it wouldn't be a bad idea to go out with him if possible. We're planning to go to Southeast Asia. It's warmer there, Bai Weituo said. He Mayu said that we're not familiar with that place, and it'd be more interesting if we had a few friends. If you're free, would you like to go too? Wang Xinyan blushed and turned to look at Linyi, but her eyes were filled with anticipation. Perhaps she wanted to go with Linyi? Let me check the time. Linyi knew that Shu Shahan might not be in danger for the time being, but the orphanage's matter still made Linyi cautious. Who knew if Feng Tianhu would go crazy and find someone to deal with Shu Shahan or the dean? Okay, if you want to go together, give me a call. Bai Weituo knew that Linyi was busy, so he didn't force it. Linyi said goodbye to Bai Weituo and returned to the villa with Wang Xinyan. Wang Xinyan was a little shy when she arrived at the familiar entrance. She knew that she would see Shu when she entered the door, but what should she say when Shu asked her why she came back? Could she say that she missed Linyi and wanted to sleep with Linyi? That would be too embarrassing, and Wang Xinyan couldn't say it. Oh, Xinyan sis, you're back. Yushu didn't know if she saw Wang Xinyan from the room or heard the car, but she ran out of the villa and said excitedly. Wang Xinyan was a little shy and awkward at first, but Yushu's words helped her out. Wang Xinyan suddenly felt like she had returned home. Shu, I'm so happy to see you. My body wasn't very good recently, so I didn't come back. I only found out today that Yarou Yarou had left. I felt bad that I couldn't send her off. Wang Xinyan sighed and said quietly. Meng Yarrow was still here the last time she came. There's no other way. Everyone has their own mission. Maybe Shu will leave one day, and then Shield Bro will be taken care of by Xinyan sis, Yushu smiled. Because Yushu said it with a smile, Wang Xinyan didn't think that Yushu was telling the truth. She thought that Yushu was joking, and her face turned red. Shu, don't make fun of me. Chapter 32:44. In actuality, Yushu was feeling the same way. Meng Yarrow was gone, and Lin Yi knew her secret. Sometimes, she would drop her dumb facade. When she was alone with Lin Yi, she wouldn't make a fuss. She would read quietly in her room or watch TV in the living room, and she wouldn't do anything stupid. She didn't need to do it for Lin Yi to see, and she didn't need to hide her loneliness and confusion in front of Lin Yi. Meng Yarrow was gone, and she might have to leave as well. She didn't know what her life would be like in the future. She didn't know if she would have a chance to live after this Heaven Stage Island plan. Would she have a chance to be with Lin Yi, Meng Yarrow, Xiao Xiao, and Tang Yun again? Yushu didn't have a shred of confidence. Sometimes, the prophecy didn't work, the roulette of fate wasn't in her hands. Even Shield Bro, who she had high hopes for, was only a small part of this grand plan. The Heaven Stage Island project, the gathering and getting to know each other before the inheritance, seemed to be a very big game of chess. Yushu didn't know who the players behind this chess game were. Perhaps she and Lin Yi were both pawns, or perhaps Lin Yi was the pawn that could turn the tides of the game. Everything was unknown. Yushu couldn't be happy every time she thought about it. That moment was near. Wang Xinyan moved into the villa smoothly. Shahan had heard about Wang Xinyan from Yushu before, and she knew that Wang Xinyan was Lin Yi's girlfriend. She didn't have much of an intention to fight for Wang Xinyan. Shahan did have feelings for Wang Xinyan, but she didn't dare do anything disrespectful in front of Wang Xinyan. She could tell that Lin Yi cared a lot about Wang Xinyan, but she didn't know why. At night, Wang Xinyan went upstairs to sleep with Shu. Lin Yi wanted to hug Xinyan to sleep as well, since she was the only girl he was close to, but Lin Yi was afraid that he'd accidentally suck Xinyan's energy away during his training, so he gave up. But what Lin Yi didn't expect was that the second day after Xinyan moved into the villa, Lin Yi got a call from young Chichi. Lin Yi bro, I've asked around for you. There's a blue crystal being auctioned at Kristen's auction house on the 20th of this month. I've already gotten the rights to it. When are you coming over? Chichi and Lin Yi were much closer now that they'd gotten to know each other. Before, young Chichi had helped Lin Yi look for the blue crystal's whereabouts purely out of gratitude, but now it was her own business. She called Lin Yi the first thing she heard. There's news of his whereabouts. That's great. Lin Yi had always been concerned about crafting the jade space. Other than practicing, he could only focus on crafting. He didn't know how to concoct pills, and he didn't know how to do mending either. He'd just focus on crafting the jade space. Plus, the space was a little small right now. Lin Yi was pretty much done with the valuables he'd brought with him, and he didn't have enough space for the small stuff. Lin Yi had to leave some space to maneuver in case of emergencies, right? Ian, when are you coming over? Chichi's words were filled with tenderness towards Lin Yi. The girl who used to grit her teeth at the mention of Lin Yi was gone. The 20th, a few more days. I'll go as soon as I can, Lin Yi said. Right, I heard you're working as a bodyguard for a celebrity. Lil Ju said that she's arranged for an entertainment company to invite her over to discuss a movie. Chichi said. Ah, a movie. Lin Yi blinked. Shu Shahan had always been in the music industry, and although she was a heavenly queen, she didn't have much in the film industry. This was because the ancient House Feng's influence was limited, and there weren't many people who could handle this. So, Shahan had always been restricted in the music industry. Yeah, this company's special effects and professional post-production are done by Lil Ju's disciples. They have a lot of things to ask of Lil Ju, so the chairman of the company happily agreed to this request. With that, Chichi said the name of a famous company. Lin Yi was a little surprised, but it made sense after thinking about it. This kind of entertainment company needed special effects and post-production. They needed to be unique, and they needed to hire professionals or outsource the work. After all, everyone had their own specialties. A company might be good at making movies, but the post-production might not be as good as these professional companies. That's good news. With this company supporting Shahan, her acting career can take another step forward. Lin Yi nodded. Chichi, on the other hand, didn't really mind the unknown stars. She didn't really care how many women Lin Yi had around him. This had to do with the environment she grew up in. Her father had a few wives, and one of them was a celebrity. Chichi didn't really care. As long as Lin Yi was her AE bro, that was enough. After putting down the phone, Lin Yi gathered everyone in the living room. Lin Yi was going out, and naturally, he had to tell Shu and Xinyan. Lin Yi, you're going to Europe. Xinyan was a little disappointed after hearing Lin Yi's words. It seemed that the plan to go to Southeast Asia with Lin Yi was ruined. Lin Yi definitely couldn't go. Yeah, Xinyan, why don't you go with Shu? Lin Yi suggested. Xinyan was a little tempted, and she turned to Yu Shu with anticipation. Yu Shu wanted to go as well, but she couldn't. Yui had sent a message that the day of the plan was getting closer and closer. The people behind Yui had been talking frequently recently, and Yu Shu might have to leave soon. I'm not going, Xinyan sis. You and Shield Bro go have fun. Don't worry about me. I'll stay at home. Maybe Yaro sis will come back. Yu Shu found an excuse for herself. Ah, you're not going. Xinyan was a little disappointed. If Yu Shu wasn't going, then she couldn't go. Then I'll stay at home with you. Lin Yi, why don't you go with Han? Chapter 32:45. Shu Shahan, on the other hand, was confused. She didn't know if she should stay in the entertainment industry. She had found her mother, and her goal of becoming a superstar was achieved. These days, she had lost her goal in life. Lin Yi, I don't know what to do in the future. The reason I became a superstar was to find my mother. Now that my mother has been found, is there any meaning for me to continue being a superstar? Shu Shahan hesitated for a long time and finally said what was in her heart. Xiao Han, I understand your feelings. Lin Yi wasn't surprised. He smiled and said, actually, everyone has a goal when they do something. For example, I came to Songshan to protect Yaro Yaro. But later, I was no longer Yaroiro's bodyguard, but we became good friends. Until now, she is my girlfriend. What I do has exceeded the scope of work. It has become a kind of life. And you should be the same. Although you have achieved your goal of becoming a superstar, think about it. If you don't become a superstar, what will you do? You can't stay at home every day, right? Shu Shahan heard Lin Yi's words and was stunned. She nodded. Yeah, if she didn't become a superstar, what would she do? Actually, you still have a goal in life. Your goal is to work hard to earn more money. Lin Yi smiled and said, your mother put all her energy into developing the orphanage. Of course, this is one of the reasons why she looked for you in the beginning. But now, she has fallen in love with this career. Her orphanage needs money. If you can help her, I believe the old dean will be very happy, right? Yeah. Shu Shahan heard Lin Yi's words and her eyes lit up. She never thought about these things before. Now that she thought about it, it was true. Her mother needed a lot of money, and the more prosperous her career was, the more money she could earn. At this moment, Shu Shahan found her goal in life again. She couldn't help but feel grateful to Lin Yi. Thank you, Lin Yi. You are really a benefactor in my life. I am very happy to meet you. With you by my side, I feel very happy. Shahan's confession was very subtle, but everyone understood. Lin Yi wasn't surprised. He looked at Wang Xinyan, then at Shu, and sighed in relief when he didn't see any special expression on their faces. It seemed that Shu had a lot on her mind, and wouldn't reject anyone like she used to. Xinyan, on the other hand, had always been a quiet person. Even if she had something to say, she wouldn't say it aloud. She'd just accept it silently. The only time she resisted was with Jiaolong. So even a girl with a good personality could have a rebellious moment. Then get ready. We'll leave for Europe in a few days. Lin Yi nodded, and then he gazed at Cheng Yi and said, you can come with me. I can help you open up the overseas market, but you must give me half of your earnings as compensation. Lin Yi knew that Cheng Yi worked for Feng Tianhu. Her income was taken by Feng Tianhu, so he didn't hesitate to ask for half of her income. Let me think about it. Cheng Yi naturally knew that Lin Yi was taking money from her to subsidize the orphanage. Of course, she agreed in her heart, but she was afraid that Feng Tianhu wouldn't agree. Giving money to Lin Yi was better than giving it to Feng Tianhu. She needed to communicate with Feng Tianhu first. Shahan was stunned. She didn't think that Lin Yi would extort money from Cheng Yi. She and Cheng Yi were good sisters, and she didn't really care what Cheng Yi used the money for. She just felt that Lin Yi asking for half of her income was a bit too much. However, she couldn't say anything. After all, Lin Yi had his own considerations, and without Lin Yi's help, they couldn't open up the overseas market by themselves. After Cheng Yi returned to her room, she dialed Feng Tianhu's number. Is there any news? Feng Tianhu quickly picked up the phone and asked. It's like this, Lin Yi is going to Europe. Lin Yi is going to meet a friend, and his friend has a lot of power over there. He can convince XXX Entertainment Company to cooperate with Xu Shahan, and let Xu Shahan be the main character and make Xu Shahan famous, Cheng Yi said. TSK, this smelly bitch is so lucky. She can rely on such a big backer even though she's a bitch. Feng Tianhu was jealous and cursed. He knew what kind of company XXX Entertainment Company was. It was a super money-making kingdom. If they really supported Xu Shahan, then it would only be a matter of time before Shahan became famous. At the same time, Feng Tianhu was a bit shocked. Was Lin Yi really a normal solo cultivator? How could he have so much power overseas? To be able to affect the decisions of such a big company, he must not be a normal person. Thinking up to here, Feng Tianhu was a bit unsatisfied. He asked the Black Horse Society to do something, but not only did it not work, he also wasted a large amount of deposit. He needed money right now, so he said to Cheng Yi, "Didn't you also do it with Lin Yi? He didn't give you any benefits? Or are you not as good as that bitch Xu Shahan? The time I spent with Lin Yi was too short, but with my hard work, Lin Yi also said that he can let the other party support me, but he wants to take 50% of the income as a reward," Cheng Yi said. 50%, it's a bit much, but it's not bad that you can get this. Not bad, Cheng Yi, it seems that you didn't let Lin Yi do it for nothing, you have some ability. Feng Tianhu was instantly happy. This 50% was also for free. If Lin Yi didn't support Cheng Yi, she wouldn't even be able to cooperate with that company. She didn't even get 50%, so Feng Tianhu was very happy about the extra income. Listening to Feng Tianhu's vulgar words, Cheng Yi frowned slightly and sighed in her heart. It would be good if Lin Yi really did it, but, then should I agree to it? Cheng Yi asked. Of course, why wouldn't you agree? Hurry up and agree. If there's anything good in the future, you can make the decision yourself. If you always come back to discuss with me, Lin Yi will be suspicious, Feng Tianhu said. Okay, I understand, Cheng Yi nodded. Chapter 3246. 3 days later, Lin Yi brought Xu Shahan and Cheng Yi to a place in Europe called Butterfly Town. Lin Yi spent a part of his childhood here. Stepping on this land again, Lin Yi was filled with emotions. The plane slowly landed in the city closest to Butterfly Town. This city was also the city where the auction house was located, Kristen City. In fact, Kristen City was very far from Butterfly Town. The most convenient way to get to Butterfly Town was by water, but it was slower, and Xu Shahan and Cheng Yi might not be able to adapt to the life on a boat. So, Lin Yi bought the plane ticket to Kristen City directly. Of course, the auction would be held here. Butterfly Town was the place Lin Yi planned to go to after the auction. Xu Shahan and Cheng Yi would be discussing business cooperation at that time, and Lin Yi could follow young Chichi back to Butterfly Town to have a look. As soon as they got out of the airport, Lin Yi saw young Chichi's cool little black silhouette. She was standing at the arrival gate, looking over anxiously. Seeing Lin Yi, she ran over happily, "Lin Yi big bro." With that, she gave Lin Yi a hug. She hugged Lin Yi like an octopus, not letting go. Young Chichi was a practitioner, and she didn't care much about how the outside world looked at her. Plus, she was sure that Lin Yi was her big bro, so it was natural for them to be intimate. After all, Lin Yi and young Chichi had a lot of physical contact when they were young. It was nothing. Shu Shahan and Cheng Yi had never met young Chichi before, but they knew on the plane that young Chichi was Lin Yi's childhood sweetheart, so they didn't have any hostility towards her. Xiaoqi, we have friends here. You're hugging me like a tree bear. What about the others? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Young Chichi listened to Lin Yi and jumped down from Lin Yi. She turned to Shu Shahan and Cheng Yi, embarrassed. You guys are Shu Shahan and Cheng Yi, right? Welcome, it's nice to meet you guys. I have an aunt who's also a celebrity, so I think we'll have a good time together. Young Chichi clearly thought that Shu Shahan and Cheng Yi were Lin Yi's women. Otherwise, why would Lin Yi protect them and help them arrange the show? Shu Shahan and Cheng Yi were a little surprised, and a little shy. Chichi's words made two things clear. One was that her father seemed to have multiple women, and she herself didn't mind the situation. Second, young Chichi said that her aunt had a celebrity as well. She was treating them as Lin Yi's women. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but he didn't explain. This kind of thing didn't need to be explained. Shu Shahan had already expressed her feelings, and Cheng Yi was naked. It was impossible to say that there was nothing between them. But Lin Yi hadn't given them a clear answer yet. Lin Yi's future was complicated. Although it looked like Lin Yi's enemies were hiding, it was all built on a lie. Once this lie was exposed, Lin Yi's good days would come to an end. So, Lin Yi couldn't promise Shu Shahan anything. Alright, Chichi, let's not talk about this for now. Have you booked the hotel? Lin Yi asked. Yeah, the best hotels in this city are Kristen Hotel and Douglas Hotel. Kristen Hotel and Kristen Auction are together. They're both part of the Overseas Practitioner Trading Association. Young Chichi explained. Douglas Hotel, our family has shares in it. It's more convenient to stay there, but it's not good for getting information about the auction. Young Chichi and Lin Yi talked about the pros and cons of the two. The young Chichi right now was no longer that cool and silly girl. She was a smart girl, and Lin Yi was a little surprised. In actuality, young Chichi had grown up a long time ago. It was only because of little Ju that she had to participate in the trials and the marketplace again and again, becoming a punching bag. After all, her strength level was there, and in the world of practitioners, strength was everything. If you didn't have strength, no matter where you came from, people would look down on you. It was different in the common world. Young Chichi had a lot of power here, and things like this were easy to handle. Just like Lin Yi, back when he was weak, no one in House Yu's auction would put him in their eyes. Normal noble houses could strut around in front of Lin Yi, but now, even the ancients would be scared of Lin Yi, wouldn't they? The Overseas Practitioners Association? Lin Yi frowned. He didn't think that Kristen Auction would be the Overseas Practitioners Association's business. The grudge between Lin Yi and the association was quite deep. He'd killed one of their elders, and while there was no news yet, it was likely that they'd put him on their blacklist. He just didn't know if the people at the auction would recognize him. But no matter what, Lin Yi had to be careful. He didn't want the association to know that he was here, and it'd affect the auction plan. That's right. Only the Overseas Cultivators Association has these rare and strange materials. Basically, they won't appear in other auctions. Young Chichi said. The association has their own channels to get these things. This is their business in the common world. Lin Yi nodded. Yes, after all, training requires funds, and these businesses in the common world can make up for that. Young Chichi said. How about this, Chichi? Don't write my name when you sign up. You sign up under your own name. Lin Yi said after some thought. It'd be better if he didn't reveal his identity. It'd be troublesome if someone knew who he was. Oh, all right. Chichi was a little confused, but she nodded anyway. It wasn't a big deal. She was just curious. Lin Yi bro, do you know about this association? Yeah, a little. Lin Yi waved his hand. Just keep it a secret. All right. Chichi didn't ask any more. Chapter 32:47. Lin Yi had a room to himself, Shu Shahan and Cheng Yi shared a room, and young Chichi booked a room at Kristen Hotel. She wanted to find out how many people were interested in the blue crystal. Lin Yi was determined to get it this time, and young Chichi wanted to find out. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you'll win every battle. And so Lin Yi didn't ask her to stay, and let her go. After Lin Yi settled down, he brought Xu Shahan and Cheng Yi to the hotel for a quick meal before going back to their room to rest. Since there were people from the association here, Lin Yi didn't dare be careless. Before the auction started, he decided to explain things in simple terms. 3 days later, when the auction officially started, Lin Yi brought Xu Shahan and Cheng Yi out of the hotel. At this time, Yang Chichi was already waiting in front of the hotel. Yang Chichi drove a business car, very low-key and unassuming. Evidently, she'd listened to Lin Yi's words to keep a low profile. Lin Yi brought Xu Shahan and Cheng Yi to the car, and Yang Chichi started the car and headed to Kristen Auction House. In the car, there was only Yang Chichi, no driver or assistant. Kristen Auction House was built very luxuriously, similar to House Yu's auction house. Yang Chichi's car was stopped at the entrance, but after Yang Chichi showed them an invitation, the security at the entrance let her in. Yang Chichi parked the car in the underground parking lot of the auction house, and got out with Lin Yi. But at this time, a red sports car stopped near Yang Chichi's car, and 2 young men got out of the car. One was Asian, and the other was European. Yang Chichi frowned when she saw the two. But she knew that if she left without saying goodbye, these two would definitely suspect her. Yang Chichi wasn't too afraid of anything, but her family's power was much weaker than these 2 young men. Her real identity, after all, didn't mean much with her father's departure. 7th sis, you're here for the auction as well? The Asian man walked up to Chichi quickly. However, his eyes were locked on Xu Shahan's face. Obviously, he was shocked by Xu Shahan's beauty. He Tianzu, young master I really didn't think that you'd be participating in an auction like this. Chichi wasn't trying to start a conversation, she really was surprised. He Tianzu was the son of the Overseas Cultivators Association's president, He Luonan. The Overseas Cultivators Association was an organization established in the past decade. Its purpose was to bring these overseas cultivators together. Gathering together, they formed an organization similar to an ancient sect, and He Lun was a peak late-stage heaven rank master. Next to He Tianzu was a young man of European descent. His name was Frio Kristen, and he was the son of the vice president of the Overseas Cultivators Association, Elder Kristen. As for why the businesses of the Overseas Cultivators Association were named after the vice president, the reason was simple. He Luo didn't like doing business, and Kristen's family was originally a business family, so he used their name to do business. The effect would be better. Otherwise, as powerful as the Overseas Cultivators Association was, they wouldn't be able to go up against the local powers. They might as well use the connections of Kristen's family to do this. Since He Tianzu was He Luonan's son, he could just take whatever he wanted from the auction. There was no need for him to participate in the auction. This was also the reason why Chichi was confused. I couldn't get used to training in the association, so I came out for a stroll. Look, something good happened. 7th sis, aren't you going to introduce me to this beautiful lady? He Tianzu looked at Shahan, not bothering to hide the adoration in his eyes. Perhaps it was due to the influence of the overseas culture, but He Tianzu's way of expressing his love wasn't subtle at all. Lin Yi slightly frowned. Although the 2 guys in front of him looked young, their strength wasn't low. This He Tianzu actually had the strength of a peak late-phase sky class. Of course, it was also possible that he was already very old and was just maintaining his youthful appearance. After all, after stepping into sky class, one's appearance wouldn't change anymore. The other European young man, on the other hand, was sky class mid-stage. This was very rare, and so Lin Yi didn't need to guess to know that these 2 belonged to the Overseas Cultivators Association as well, and their positions weren't low either. Lin Yi wanted to avoid them, but he didn't think that He Tianzu would be so directly expressing his love to Shahan. This made Lin Yi feel helpless. But at this time, Lin Yi really couldn't fight with them. This was their turf, and if they fought, they wouldn't be able to escape. Even if they escaped, the blue crystal would be gone. Young Chichi's face froze. She didn't think that He Tianzu would make a request like this. She was in a difficult position, but after some hesitation, she still said, "This is the celebrity, Miss Shahan." This time, She's here to discuss business with XXX Entertainment Company. She'll be leaving soon. Young Chichi wanted to say that Shahan was just a passerby and would leave soon, but evidently He Tianzu didn't understand. He said, I was wondering why Miss Shu was so pretty. So you're a celebrity. XXX Entertainment Company may be famous, but there are too many big names there. In Frio Onu's house, there's also a film company, Kristen Entertainment Company. It's not as famous as XXX, but I think that if you want to promote a newcomer, it'll be very easy. Last year, the newcomer who won the Best Actress award in XXX film was supported by Kristen Entertainment Company. Since Miss Shu is here for business, you have to consider the promotion of both sides. On this side, I can guarantee that all the resources will be used for Miss Shu alone. I'll think about it. Thank you, young master He. Shu Shahan was, after all, a celebrity. She had seen the world. After a short moment of shock, she smiled and said politely, but XXX Company was also introduced by my friend. I need to think about it carefully. That's good. Right, Miss Shu, are you here for the auction as well? He Tianzu wasn't stupid since Shahan didn't agree directly, he wouldn't force her. There were many ways to pick up girls, so he changed the topic. Chapter 32:48. Are you really just looking around? Miss Shu, what do you like? Don't hold back, I'm a shareholder of this company. If you like something, tell me beforehand, and I'll reserve it for you. Otherwise, who knows who will get it when the competitions start? He Tianzu said. Miss Shu, you don't have to hide it. Since you're going to XXX Company to discuss a collaboration, and you're in a hurry, there's no way you'll be staying here for an auction. I'm sure Miss Shu has your eyes on something here, right? Shahan didn't expect He Tianzu to be this hard to deal with. This guy was a pervert, but he wasn't stupid. Chichi's explanation only made him more persistent. But, what could Shahan say? She was only here to accompany Lin Yi. The only thing she knew was that Lin Yi wanted a blue crystal, but she couldn't tell him. What if He Tianzu tried to stop him? That wouldn't be worth it. Lin Yi was a bit impatient. Why was this He Tianzu so hard to deal with? If he knew that he was going to bid for a blue crystal, wouldn't there be some resistance? With that thought, Lin Yi could only say, I dragged Xiaohan to come with me, and I helped to contact XXX Entertainment Company. So, Xiaohan was actually waiting for me. Lin Yi didn't want to be in the limelight, but he had no choice. Shahan was a celebrity, but her social experience was much less than this person in front of him. This He Tianzu was very hard to deal with, and Shahan wasn't his opponent at all. Oh! He Tianzu looked at Lin Yi, a flash of unfriendliness in his eyes, but he still said politely, Mister, you are? Mr. He, you're from the association, right? What's your status in the association? Lin Yi didn't answer but asked back. He needed to find a reason to calm He Tianzu down, or he wouldn't be able to attend the auction. Brother Yi, this is young Master He, the son of the association's chairman, He Lun. Chichi introduced to Lin Yi, but didn't say Lin Yi's name. Ah, so it's the chairman's son, nice to meet you. I came here this time to discuss a business deal with President He. Lin Yi smiled and extended his hand. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Lin Yi, the sales manager of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. I'm here to establish a trade relationship with the Overseas Cultivators Association to sell our products, the first and second level automatic cauldron. Oh! He Tianzu stared blankly for a moment. He also knew about the first grade automatic cauldron. He was also prepared to send people to investigate and see if he could buy some in bulk. However, the death of an elder made the Overseas Cultivators Association temporarily not dare to act blindly without thinking. They were currently investigating the background of the murderer, Lin Yi. Since this person had the ability to kill a heaven stage expert, he was definitely not a nobody. However, he didn't expect that the Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company would send someone before the association even sent anyone. This surprised He Tianzu. He was even more surprised when he heard Lin Yi say that there were second-level automatic cauldrons. His attitude towards Lin Yi became warmer and he immediately shook hands with Lin Yi. Mr. Ling, does your company still sell second-level automatic cauldrons? It's about to go on the market. Lin Yi nodded, but it's limited. The current sales channel is only through the auctions of the Cultivators Association. However, I'm here this time to directly supply a few to the association. After all, you're far away from here, and it's not convenient for you to participate in the auctions. Our company also wants to establish a long-term business relationship with the association. Lin Yi spoke with conviction. After all, he was familiar with the first and second cauldrons, so he was able to trick He Tianzu in one fell swoop. Thank you so much. He Tianzu smiled and said, then I welcome Mr. Ling to visit the Overseas Cultivators Association after the auction. This is my name card. As he said that, He Tianzu handed a card to Lin Yi. Lin Yi took a look at it. There was only He Tianzu's name, a contact number, and an address. There was nothing else. Obviously, the address was the address of the association. I left my name card in the hotel. This time, I'm just following Sister Xiao Qi to experience the auction here. Lin Yi kept the name card and said. It's fine. He Tianzu waved his hand. Mr. Ling, you and Miss Xu are, Xiao Han is our company's spokesperson. Naturally, Lin Yi couldn't say anything else. He Tianzu had just calmed down, and there was no telling what he was going to do next, catching Lin Yi off guard. All right, then you're welcome to visit, Mr. Ling. I'll be leaving now. He Tianzu understood the gravity of the situation, and knew that this was not the time to get on Lin Yi's bad side. This guy was here to give them a treasure, and the association needed it. If they were to piss him off, then the automatic cauldron would be gone. So, He Tianzu decided to give up for now. Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief, but didn't let his guard down at all. He planned to leave this place as soon as the auction was over. After entering the auction, Lin Yi followed young Chichi to the VIP room. Anyone with a certain background would have their own VIP room, but even if it was just Lin Yi's group, Lin Yi still checked the room carefully to make sure there weren't any surveillance devices. Xiao Qi, you're in contact with this association? Yeah, Lin Yi bro, I'm a member of the association. All the overseas practitioners are members here, and they don't need to do much. All they need to do is register, and they get a certain amount of elixirs and treasures every month. It's a public welfare organization, I guess. Lin Yi nodded. It seemed like He Luodong really knew how to win people's hearts, gathering all these practitioners under his banner. He didn't need them to do anything right now, but in a critical moment, they could be very useful. And after Tang Yuqi became a heaven rank expert, it was only natural that the Overseas Cultivators Association wanted to keep him there. After all, Tang Yuqi had obtained a lot of cultivation resources from the Overseas Cultivators Association. It could be said that without the Overseas Cultivators Association, there wouldn't be a heaven rank Tang Yuqi. Chapter 3249. But the association didn't give him any face at all. They couldn't even talk about it. To put it bluntly, strength was the only thing that mattered in the world of cultivation. But, if Lin Yi had known that the auction house was the association's territory, Lin Yi wouldn't have come at all. Even if he did, he wouldn't have used the identity of Lin Yi. He'd have put on a disguise, like a 1,000 silk mask, or just let Chichi show up. Who knew that the association would be built right in front of Chichi's house? But since he was here, he couldn't hide anymore. Lin Yi had no choice but to continue. I see. Why didn't you mention this before? Lin Yi sighed. Before? You didn't ask before, Lin Yi bro. What's wrong, Lin Yi bro? It seems like you have some sort of grudge with the association. Chichi wasn't an idiot. She could already guess what was going on. That's right, I killed one of their elders. Lin Yi said. Ah, Elder Chen? Chichi blinked. Evidently, she knew about this as well. Chichi, you know about this? Lin Yi was a bit surprised. He didn't expect Chichi to know about this. All the members of the association know about it. Elder Wang came back alone, and Elder Chen, a sky-class mid-phase peak, was killed. They called us for a meeting to discuss what we should do, but we don't know much about that side, and I'm not a core member, so I don't even know who killed Elder Chen or how. I'm only attending the meeting to warn everyone not to mess with the ancient sects. Chichi said. Lin Yi nodded. It's fine, we're already here. We'll leave this place as soon as the auction is over. All right, then. About the cooperation with XXX Entertainment. Chichi hesitated. Forget it, will go straight to Island X, Lin Yi said after a sigh. Shahan and Cheng Yi didn't say anything else. After all, their safety was more important. They could only postpone the money-making business. Who told that He Tianzu to fall in love with Shahan? Soon, the auction began. Just like the other auctions, after the host explained the rules of the auction proceeded smoothly. Lin Yi looked at the auction guide. All of the items were treasures. Of course, these were for normal people, things that could extend one's lifespan and cure illnesses. There were basically no items that were beneficial for training. However, thinking about it, it made sense. The Overseas Cultivators Association probably bought some elixirs in bulk from somewhere. However, the elixirs that were useful for cultivation were kept for themselves. These elixirs were just accessories that they bought to generate income. These were things that Lin Yi didn't care about. There was quite a bit of competition, but it was normal. Most people who came to this auction were normal people. These people were after these treasures that could extend one's lifespan. Finally, it was time for the item that Lin Yi needed, the blue crystal. Lin Yi took a deep breath and nodded to Chichi, indicating that he would be the one to bid. Lin Yi wanted to keep a low profile and try not to show his face. The next item is a blue crystal, a very rare gem. The host introduced the blue crystal. Of course, he didn't know that this thing could be used for crafting. Of course, even if he knew, it wouldn't have mattered. Blacksmiths were gone now. Even if this thing was used by blacksmiths, it would only be a decoration. The people who came here to participate in the auction were basically here for heavenly materials and earthly treasures like longevity elixirs. These people didn't care much about gemstones and crystals. These luxurious items could be found in any other auction, and they didn't come here to study them. Therefore, when the blue crystal was taken out, it didn't attract too much attention. Even those who had been bidding for it just now picked up their teacups and prepared to drink some water to relax and welcome the next round of bidding. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was paying close attention to this blue crystal. 8 million. A voice rang out. The starting price of this blue crystal was 5 million. In auctions like this, the starting price wasn't high. It was all about the bidding, but there weren't many people who wanted this blue crystal. In fact, the only reason they brought it out was to relax a little. They didn't expect to sell it for a good price. 9 million. Another person also called out his own price. However, after this person called out 9 million, the previous person didn't raise the price anymore. Obviously, he wasn't determined to get it. Someone else bid higher than him, so he gave up. Perhaps he was just a scammer. His purpose was to prevent the auction from having an awkward silence and an unsold item. 10 million. Chichi called out. She could tell that the auctioneer was getting ready to ask for the first time. Evidently, no one was interested in this item anymore. Chichi's bid surprised the man who was bidding 9 million. He looked at Chichi's room and gave up right away. The blue crystal wasn't very pure, and there were a lot of impurities in it. It was a huge discount on the value of the crystal. As a result, 10 million wasn't a bad price, but an item of this quality wasn't very useful. Of course, for collectors and engravers, a flaw in a crystal was a fatal wound. But it didn't matter to Lin Yi. He used it for crafting, and this blue crystal was just a supplementary material. He needed to grind it into powder, and the impurities wouldn't affect his usage at all. After Chichi, no one else made a bid. The auctioneer raised his hammer as well. The guest from room 27 bids 10 million. Are there any higher bids? 10 million, going once. Just when Lin Yi thought he had it, a familiar voice rang out. It made Lin Yi frown. 12 million. The one who made the bid was He Tianzu, who he had met in the parking lot earlier. Chapter 3250. Evidently, He Tianzu had a purpose for doing this. Was he trying to go against Lin Yi? Lin Yi looked at Chichi and nodded. 14 million. Chichi called out again. 15 million. He Tianzu said. What was worth mentioning was that the prices here were all in euros, so 15 million was quite a high price. 17 million. Chichi added another 2 million. 18 million. He Tianzu didn't hesitate. 20 million. Chichi added another 2 million. 21 million. He Tianzu continued. Lin Yi took a deep breath. This He Tianzhu was pushing the price to over 20 million. In this way, it wasn't as simple as it seemed. The price had already exceeded those ordinary heavenly materials and earthly treasures by a lot. The guests present were also very puzzled. How could such a broken blue crystal with impurities be so valuable? And there were people competing for it. Very few of these normal merchants knew who He Tianzhu was, since they were on a different level. He didn't interact much with them, but Frio Kristen, on the other hand, did interact with some of the merchants, but he wasn't the one bidding this time. Naturally, no one thought too much about it. Looking at Chichi, Lin Yi raised 3 fingers. 30 million. Chichi understood what Lin Yi was getting at. 40 million. This time, He Tianzhu also changed the previous method of increasing the price by 1 million, and directly increased it by 10 million. 40 million wasn't a small amount. It made Lin Yi's mouth twitch. Lin Yi had some money now, but it wasn't a lot. It was all invested in the orphanage and the second-level cauldrons. 50 million. Chichi continued, giving Lin Yi a reassuring look before whispering, I still have money here, 100 million. He Tianzhu simply did not bother to deal with it, and directly began to quote a large price. Even Chichi, who had some money stashed away, was shocked by the price. Of course, this was for Lin Yi's auction. Chichi didn't hesitate. 150 million. 300 million. He Tianzhu said faintly. Chichi was about to continue when Lin Yi shook his head. It's fine. Give up. Ah? Chichi blinked, not understanding why Lin Yi would give up just like that. I have some money stashed away, around 1 billion. If you can't do it, I can borrow from Lil Ju. It's not a matter of money. He Tianzhu is the boss of this auction house, and no matter what price he calls out, it's just money in his left pocket. He can call out however much he wants, buying under the company's name and selling under the company's name. He doesn't even need to pay a commission, it's just a formality. He could even call out 10 billion. Chichi thought about it, it was true. This auction house belonged to He Tianzhu, and no matter how much she bid, she wouldn't be able to compete with him. And so, Chichi didn't say anything and gave up. The guest in room 3 has bid 300 million. Are there any higher bids? 300 million, going once, going twice, going thrice. Sold. The auctioneer closed the auction. Let's go, there's no point in us staying here. Lin Yi stood up, and Chichi, Shahan, and Cheng Yi followed Lin Yi, leaving the room and heading to the elevator. Chichi, Shahan, and Cheng Yi didn't say anything else. They knew that Lin Yi didn't get the blue crystal, so he wasn't in a good mood. But there was nothing they could do about it. He Tianzhu's actions were unpredictable. The 4 of them took the elevator to the underground parking lot. Just as they were about to get into the car, the door of the elevator dedicated to the internal passage opened. Inside the elevator, He Tianzhu and Frio Kristen slowly walked out. He Tianzhu, on the other hand, was holding a box, smiling as he walked towards Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't understand what He Tianzhu was doing, but he politely stopped. He Tianzhu wasn't much of a threat in his eyes. He was a sky-class late-phase peak, and with Lin Yi's current strength, even if he couldn't kill him instantly, he could still injure him when he was unprepared. But what would he do after that? There would be endless troubles, and he wouldn't even be able to escape from this city. Miss Shu, I'm sorry, I was bidding just to personally deliver this blue crystal to Miss Shu. He Tianzhu smiled and passed the box to Shu Shahan. He did this for Shahan's sake. It didn't matter which of the 4 of them needed this crystal, since he gave it to Shahan, it was the same as leaving a good impression on Shahan. Since Shahan was the spokesperson of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, no matter what, he couldn't force her. If things went sour with Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, and they couldn't provide the first and second level cauldrons, then it wouldn't be worth it. So he changed his strategy, using this method to make Shahan owe him a favor, and things could be done step by step. Thank you. Shahan hesitated, but still took the blue crystal. Shahan didn't know what this thing was used for, but one thing was for sure, Lin Yi really needed it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come all the way here to participate in the auction. So even if Shahan knew He Tianzhu's intentions weren't pure, she still accepted it. Haha, Miss Shu, then I won't bother you anymore. Go back and think about my proposal, I'll visit you later. He Tianzu smiled. With that, He Tianzu got into his sports car with Frio and left the parking lot. Lin Yi watched the sports car leave, and Chichi and the others got into the MPV. Lin Yi said to Chichi, "No need to go back to the hotel, don't take anything, just drive away." "Okay." Chichi nodded and started the car. Inside the hotel, there were only some luggage and Xu Shahan and Cheng Yi's clothes. Although it was expensive, it was better to lose them than lose their lives. Young Chichi got out of the auction and headed towards the highway, but she didn't get far before a red Ferrari overtook her from behind. It was He Tianzu's car. Chapter 3251. Was it because of him or Xu Shahan? Maybe, they were just passing by. However, He Tianzu's next move showed his purpose. The red sports car went straight to the front of Lin Yi's car, and from the front passenger seat, a person jumped out. This person was Frio Leono, a sky-class early phase. It was easy for him to stop a speeding car. It was absolutely impossible to kill him. How could a heaven stage expert be killed by a car? Not only would he not die, but the car would also be destroyed. So Lin Yi said, "Chichi, stop the car." Actually, when Lin Yi said that, Chichi was already slowing down. If the car was hit, she and Lin Yi were practitioners, so it wouldn't be a problem. But Xu Shahan and Cheng Yi would be in danger. Of course, she didn't know that Cheng Yi was also a practitioner, but Frio Leono didn't just stand there and wait for Lin Yi's car to come over. After he got off, he ran towards Lin Yi's car. Even if Chichi stopped, it was useless. A Sky class's speed was not to be underestimated. When Frio Leono rushed over, he suddenly kicked Lin Yi's car. There was a loud bang, and the car shook violently, flying towards the side of the road. "Careful!" Lin Yi shouted and quickly held Xu Shahan tightly, channeling the art of dragon mastery, using his qi to protect Xu Shahan. As for Chichi and Cheng Yi, they were fine. Lin Yi didn't need to worry. Chichi was a physical practitioner, and her body was stronger than spiritual practitioners. Cheng Yi was an earth class, too. Even if the car broke, they would be fine. After a series of violent bumps and rolls, the car rolled a couple of times on the gravel on the side of the road before coming to a stop. The body of the car was completely caved in, but Chichi and Cheng Yi were fine. Shahan, who was protected by Lin Yi, was fine as well. However, the next moment, Frio Leonor ran over and grabbed the deformed door of the minivan. He pulled it easily, and the door fell down. The next moment, Frio Leonor looked at Lin Yi and the others in the car mockingly. "Not dead yet." Sure enough, the whole car is filled with cultivators. "You really can't judge a book by its cover," Frio said lightly. "Get out of the car and come back with us. If you surrender, I won't touch you for the time being. Otherwise, you will suffer." "Frio Leonor, what do you mean? Is this how you treat the customers of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company?" Lin Yi asked faintly, trying his luck. "Guessed." Frio Leonor smiled coldly and said faintly, "Lin Yi, stop pretending. Do you think we didn't find out who you are?" In fact, Frio Leonor and He Tianzu just found out about Lin Yi's real identity. He Tianzu had reported Lin Yi and Xu Shahan's identity to his old man, He Luonan, and naturally, He Luonan had to investigate Lin Yi's background to see if he was from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. In the end, Lin Yi's identity was revealed. Lin Yi was the murderer who killed Elder Chen, Lin Yi. Elder Wang recognized the person who was pretending to be Lin Yi immediately. So, He Luonan immediately called He Tianzu and told him not to act rashly. He had to stabilize Lin Yi first, and a large number of reinforcements would arrive soon. However, He Tianzu didn't do that. After receiving the call, he immediately chased after Lin Yi and was ready to make a move. He was young and rash. He didn't believe that Lin Yi could kill Elder Chen in a second. From his perspective, it must be Elder Wang's fault. In order to avoid losing face, he exaggerated about how powerful Lin Yi was to absolve himself of responsibility for his escape. In He Tianzu's understanding, no matter how powerful Lin Yi was, how could a Sky-class early-phase master kill a Sky-class mid-phase peak in a second? Their strengths were completely different. How could he do that? It was like a Golden-class master killing a Mystic-class master. He Tianzu didn't believe it at all. Moreover, The most important thing was that Lin Yi lied to him before. This made He Tianzu very angry. He wanted to get back at him. He couldn't give away the blue crystal for nothing. Of course, there was also another reason. He wanted to push Shu Shahan away as soon as possible. If Shu Shahan was seen by his father, he would most likely ruin his plan. He Tianzu's mnemonic chant was a kind of pure yang mnemonic chant. He shouldn't get close to women as it would slow down his cultivation speed. Although he was already a peak late-stage heaven rank, He Lutu wanted him to step into the perfection realm as soon as possible. Before reaching the perfection realm, his private life was very restricted. So, if Shu Shahan was seen by He Luornu, he probably wouldn't let him get close to her. He Tianzu was a lecher. Actually, in the end, it could also be explained that he had been holding it in for so many years. The children who were with him all cultivated different mantras than he did. Watching them play with women, and changing lovers one after another, He Tianzu was truly envious. But because of the family rules, he could only sneak in. Even so, he was still discovered by his father, and was reprimanded and placed in confinement several times. But this time, after seeing Shu Shahan, he couldn't suppress the desire in his heart. He swore to get Shu Shahan into bed. He couldn't wait anymore. So, he and Frio made a move together. Lin Yi heard Frio call out his name. He knew that it was bad. They must know his identity already. There was no point in hiding it anymore. He quickly calculated in his mind. But on the surface, Lin Yi still got off the car obediently. He said to Frio, "I can get off and go with you, but young Chichi is just a friend I met in the Ice Palace. It has nothing to do with her. Can you let her go?" "Sure." Frio nodded. He didn't know what kind of relationship Lin Yi and young Chichi had. After all, young Chichi grew up in Europe, and Lin Yi was a practitioner from China. These two shouldn't have anything to do with each other, but Lin Yi said that he met young Chichi in the Ice Palace. That made sense. Young Chichi was very interested in participating in trials with great rewards. The association knew about these trials, but they rarely sent people to participate. It was too dangerous. The reward wasn't worth the effort. Chapter 3252. It was said that she was related to that powerful man back in the day, and so the association didn't want to offend her. Even if the Common World Assassin Group wasn't much of a threat to them, and that man had disappeared for many years, it was hard to say if he was related to Chichi or not. But they didn't want to start a feud if they could avoid it. After all, Chichi was a member of the association. "Young Chichi, leave this place." Lin Yi looked at Chichi, giving her a reassuring look before telling her to leave. Chichi trusted Lin Yi unconditionally, and didn't think much about it. She thought that Lin Yi had complete confidence in dealing with these two, and her presence might make things difficult for him. And so, Chichi nodded and left without another word. Perhaps, in Chichi's eyes, Lin Yi was invincible. In the Ice Palace, the Cultivator Trade Association, and the Sky Elixir Sect's test, Lin Yi had shown extraordinary capabilities, and so Chichi didn't think that he would be in any danger. After all, Chichi still had to help Lin Yi gather materials in Europe in the future, and it wouldn't be good for Chichi or Lin Yi if she were to get into trouble with these people. Chichi was the one who took the blue crystal box, and this was what Lin Yi hinted at. Frio saw it, but didn't say anything. If Chichi really needed the blue crystal, then there was no need to investigate. Chichi was a practitioner, and while the car was flipped and unrecognizable, it could still be driven with a push. Chichi pushed the car back onto the highway and drove away. At this time, He Tianzu walked over as well. In Lin Yi's eyes, Frio wasn't a threat, but He Tianzu was. A sky-class late-phase peak, Lin Yi didn't know if he could kill him with his current strength. Moreover, Lin Yi had been too busy recently and had not tried to activate the 10th style of the Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm. If he could successfully activate the 10th style of the Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm, he might be able to arm wrestle with He Tianzu. Lin Yi took a deep breath and looked at He Tianzu. "He Tianzu, I don't think there's any hatred between us, and I'm not lying to you. If you do some research, you'll find out that I'm the boss of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. If the Overseas Cultivators Association wants to purchase a Tier 1 and Tier 2 automatic medical cauldron, it has to go through my hands. You can't avoid me, so I think we can still sit down and talk. He Tianzu frowned slightly. Lin Yi's words weren't unreasonable. Could it be that his father had also thought of this problem when he didn't want him to act? If he had acted rashly, he would have almost ruined the whole thing. Although it was important to avenge Elder Chen, the automatic medical cauldron was equally important. With the automatic medical cauldron, the Overseas Cultivators Association would be able to concoct more medicinal pills and train more cultivators. I'll make a call. He Tianzu nodded slightly and dialed He Luodan's number. Father, He Tianzu didn't say much. He didn't mention a word about how he intercepted Lin Yi. He only said that he stabilized Lin Yi and told He Luodan what Lin Yi said. On the other side, He Tianzu nodded repeatedly and hung up after a while. How was it? Lin Yi asked. He Tianzu's answer would directly determine his next move. Lin Yi, you're the boss of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, so there's no need for you to lie to me. However, I can also tell you that the automatic medical cauldron is not only sold by your company, the Sky Elixir sect is also selling it. We can go to the Sky Elixir sect to buy it. We don't need to go through you, He Tianzu said. Lin Yi frowned slightly. Sky Elixir sect. Indeed, the Sky Elixir sect's imitation seemed to be troublesome now. They're just imitating our products. They don't have any research and development capabilities. Our second-level automatic medical cauldron will be on the market soon. Among them, I believe young master he knows very well which one has the best future, Lin Yi said. Haha, that's just your side of the story. The Sky Elixir sect is an old school of alchemy. How do you know that they don't have research capabilities? Without Butcher Zhong, I wouldn't eat a pig. He Tianzu said indifferently. However, if Mr. Lin wants to redeem himself, that's fine. As long as Mr. Lin can help me and let Miss Xu Shahan sign in my company, we'll be business partners. How about that? I'll go back and think about it. Lin Yi pondered for a while and said. Think about it. If you nod, I'll take Xu Shahan away. Then we'll consider this settled. Otherwise, pretend I didn't say anything. He Tianzu threatened. In fact, He Lutu's phone call had already made it very clear. If Lin Yi could pay a higher price, then they could work together. After all, Elder Chen's life was not as important as the overall benefits of the association. Of course, if Lin Yi didn't cooperate, then there was still the Sky Elixir sect. They could still buy automatic medical cauldrons from Lin Yi. So, this ambiguous answer gave He Tianzu a chance to take Xu Shahan down. Lin Yi didn't think that this rich kid wasn't stupid. He knew to take Xu Shahan back first. It seemed that his plan to stall for time wasn't going to work. Thinking up to here, Lin Yi sighed and said, He Tianzu, have you thought about it? You really want to go against me? Lin Yi, what do you mean by that? I was kind enough to contact the film company for Miss Xu Shahan. How is that going against you? He Tianzu said calmly. Haha, I'm sure you know what you're thinking in your heart, don't you? Lin Yi smiled and said non-committally. Okay, don't worry about what I'm thinking. This is my request. If you agree, then we'll sit down and talk. If you don't, then we'll go our separate ways. He Tianzu looked at Lin Yi as if he had control over the whole situation, leaving Lin Yi with no choice. Is that so? Lin Yi took a deep breath and said, Let me think about it, can I? Of course. He Tianzu nodded indifferently. From what he saw, Lin Yi's so-called think about it was just because he didn't want to lose face. People under other people's eaves had to lower their heads. He didn't think that Lin Yi had the courage to go against him. Lin Yi pretended to lower his head and pondered. In fact, he was chanting the chant and suddenly, he made his move. Chapter 3253. This was Lin Yi's first time activating the 10th form of Frenzy 8 Trigram Palm. Although Lin Yi couldn't guarantee success, he had to give it a try. However, Lin Yi didn't dare to use his full strength. Instead, he reserved a portion of qi. After all, even if Lin Yi could kill He Tianzu, there was still Friar Nu next to him. Lin Yi couldn't bet everything on He Tianzu. Fortunately, Lin Yi successfully activated it. It seemed that using the 10th form of Frenzy 8 Trigram Palm at the peak of early phase of Heaven class was still possible. However, Lin Yi could clearly feel that when this palm landed on He Tianzu's body, it wasn't as shocking as when he used Frenzy 8 trigram palm on other people. He Tianzu's body shook a little, and he quickly took a few steps back. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth, but he didn't die. Instead, he suffered a moderate injury. "Cheng Yi, hug me from behind," Lin Yi suddenly shouted. Along with his shout, he carried Shu Shahan on his shoulder. Cheng Yi was an Earth-class practitioner, so her reaction was very fast. She directly jumped onto Lin Yi's back. Lin Yi started running. Under Lin Yi's feet was the wind-chasing lightning boots. Lin Yi already knew how to use this weapon. Now that he couldn't kill He Tianzu, he could only run, chase. He Tianzu didn't think that Lin Yi would dare to sneak an attack. Before this, He Tianzu thought that Lin Yi would definitely give in, but he didn't think that Lin Yi would actually attack him when he was unprepared. Although this move wasn't fatal to He Tianzu, it was enough to affect his movement and strength. Therefore, He Tianzu directly ordered Friar Nu. He quickly took out a small medicine bottle, poured out a pill, and directly put it in his mouth. Then, he adjusted his breathing. Friar Nu wasn't an idiot. He was the vice leader's son. Although he usually hung out with He Tianzu, he wasn't He Tianzu's subordinate. He was only an early phase heaven class. If Lin Yi could injure He Tianzu, then he must be a very powerful person. Although on the surface, Lin Yi's strength was only at the peak of early phase heaven class, if Lin Yi could injure He Tianzu, then his strength was probably as high as the rumors said. But although it was very high, it wasn't very troublesome. If there were a few peak late phase heaven powerhouses besieging Lin Yi, or a great perfection powerhouse, then Lin Yi would definitely be captured. Thinking of this, Friar Nu felt some regret. He should have advised He Tianzu not to act rashly, but now that He Tianzu was injured and Lin Yi ran away, he didn't dare to act rashly. "Friar Nu, why don't you chase him?" He Tianzu recuperated his body, and his injuries slightly calmed down. After catching his breath, he quickly asked. "Young Master I'm only at the early phase of the heaven realm. If I go after him, wouldn't I be sending you off?" Friar Nu bitterly smiled. "You aren't his opponent. If I go, I might not be able to come back." He Tianzu was slightly startled, but he immediately nodded. Friar Nu was right, he was only at the early phase of the heaven realm. If Lin Yi could even injure him, who was at the peak late phase of the heaven realm, then killing Friar Nu definitely wouldn't be a problem. At this moment, He Tianzu believed that Elder Chen had been killed by Lin Yi, but he wasn't willing. He clenched his teeth and said, "Let's chase together, we can't let him escape. You deal with those two women, I'll deal with Lin Yi." Okay. Friar Nu had no problem dealing with the two women, as long as he didn't directly face Lin Yi. At this moment, Lin Yi had already run far away. Although He Tianzu and Friar Nu were Heaven Realm experts, it was still very difficult for them to chase after him. Looking at Lin Yi's gradually disappearing figure, the two were somewhat puzzled. How could Lin Yi run so fast? Lin Yi didn't dare to stop for even a moment. After all, although He Tianzu was injured, it was obvious that after taking the recover pill, it was not a big problem. If he caught up to Lin Yi, it would be very easy for him to kill the current Lin Yi. After all, when Lin Yi had urged the 10th style of the Frenzy 8 trigram palm, he had already used most of his strength and true chi, and the remaining strength and true chi were used to run away. Therefore, Lin Yi carried one on his back and the other on his back, running all the way on the highway. Fortunately, there were not many cars on the highway, otherwise they would have been scared to death by Lin Yi's behavior. Although He Tianzu and Friar Nu's speed was not slow, and Lin Yi had two people to drag him down, Lin Yi not only had the exquisite butterfly subtle steps, but also the gale-chasing lightning boots. His speed was incomparably fast. In the blink of an eye, he had left the two people far behind. This kid is stepping on the wind-fire wheels, right? How can he run so fast? He Tianzu also used all his strength, but not only did he not catch up, but he also chased further and further away, which made him very depressed. It is indeed a bit strange. There is something strange about this kid. Friar Nu also said. Although he did not guess that Lin Yi had a divine weapon, he could clearly feel that Lin Yi was different from normal people. Finally, Lin Yi disappeared, and He Tianzu and Friar Nu had to stop and sit in the wheat field by the road to rest. At this time, He Tianzu's phone also rang. "Hello, Dad." He Tianzu's voice was very careful. After all, he had made a mistake and made a mistake. "Tianzu, where are you?" He Lun's voice came from the phone. "Dad, I am sorry, I acted rashly. Not only was I injured by Lin Yi, but I also let him run away," He Tianzu said gloomily. "What?" He Lun's voice was stagnant, and then he became angry. "Didn't I tell you to stop him first, and then wait for us to go over?" He Tianzu naturally did not dare to say anything about Xu Shahan, so he could only say, "Lin Yi seemed to have noticed something. After leaving the auction, he directly drove to the highway. We had no choice but to stop here." "Oh. Then you could have followed him. You gave up such a good opportunity for nothing." He Lun also knew that Lin Yi was a practitioner. If he ran away, it would be very difficult to catch him again. So he also knew that no matter how he reprimanded He Tianzu, it would be useless, so he could only say, "Forget it." If he ran away, then he ran away. "I originally wanted to use this incident to make Lin Yi give up some of the benefits, then we can also get the cheap automatic medicine cauldron, but now it seems that if Lin Yi ran away, then I am afraid that he will never come here again. We have nothing to threaten him with." Chapter 3254. What about young Chichi? He Tianzu asked after some hesitation. Young Chichi and Lin Yi are probably just acquaintances, but they're pretty close. She grew up here, and doesn't have much to do with the practitioners over there. Her background is a little complicated, too, so it's best if we don't touch her. He Luonan shook his head, rejecting He Tianzu's suggestion. He didn't want to offend people because of Lin Yi, especially since young Chichi was a member of the association. If he took his anger out on Chichi because of Lin Yi, it'd make the other members hate him. Who knew if they were enemies of the association when they made friends? If they took their anger out on every enemy they met, then there'd be no point in making friends with them. Then our cauldrons. He Tianzu knew that he'd gotten into trouble. "It seems like I can only ask for help from the Sky Elixir sect. Although I don't want to contact that person, there's no other choice. I can only ask for his help now." Hilwan sighed. He'd been thinking about the automatic cauldron before, but Miracle Dr. Guan's company's cauldron had countless connections with Lin Yi. He didn't know much about the Sky Elixir sect, either, so he could only ask for that person's help. But he'd already broken ties with that person, and he didn't want to contact him anymore. "Dad, I'm sorry." He Tianzu understood his father's predicament, feeling helpless and apologetic. "It's fine, you and Frio can come back. Let's just leave this as it is. We'll deal with Lin Yi in the future. We know how strong he is now, and if he could only injure you and run away, then he's obviously not that strong," He Luonan comforted. "Yes, father." He Tianzu quickly nodded his head in agreement. He Tianzu and Frio returned to the association's headquarters dejectedly, only to see He Luonan with a dark expression on his face. "You two, kneel down," He Luonan said coldly. He Tianzu was his son, but the association had its rules. Even if he was He Luonan's son, he still had to go through the motions. "Yes." He Tianzu and Frio Leonor did not argue. Both of them knelt in the hall. Although Frio Leonor was accompanying them, he had no choice. Who asked him to not stop them? "You guys should think about your own mistakes first. I'll contact the Chinese cultivators." He Luoluo really didn't want to make this call. It had been so many years since he left his hometown. 50 years ago, he had quarreled with his big brother. Then, 11 years ago, he successfully reached the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage. He founded the Overseas Cultivators Association, a sect that was not inferior to the ancient sects. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to understand the bitterness of this. Although He Luonan also understood that his elder brother reprimanded him for his own good, he still couldn't untie this knot in his heart. So many years had passed. Although he knew his elder brother's number and knew what his elder brother was doing now, he still hadn't contacted him. After all, his elder brother was in the light, and he was in the dark. However, today's matter caught He Luonan unprepared. He originally hoped to get the right to buy the automatic cauldron from Lin Yi, but now, he could only pin his hopes on his elder brother. After all, his elder brother had some relationship with the Heavenly Elixir sect. He Luonan, on the other hand, had no contact with the heavenly elixir sect at all. Arriving at a secret room, He Luon dialed the number that he had tried to call over the past few years, but was always cut off by him. "Hello? Who is it?" A deep voice came from the other side of the phone. "Elder brother." After hearing this voice, He Luonan's eyes were filled with tears. For a moment, he was filled with emotion. "Warhead?" After hearing this voice on the other side of the phone, he couldn't believe it and asked subconsciously, "It's me, elder brother." He Luonan originally thought that he had a grudge against his elder brother, but after saying this sentence, he buried the grudge in his heart for decades. "Luonan, where are you? How have you been these past few years? When will you come back to help me? Now, the five-element sect is completely under my control. In the beginning, I taught you a lesson because I was afraid that Master would be wary of me. But now, I have the final say." It turned out that He Luonan's elder brother was actually ancestor Shen Chen of the five-element sect. Back then, because He Luonan was young, he relied on the fact that his elder brother was ancestor Shen Chen, so he said some pretentious words. Ancestor Shen Chen usually doted on his younger brother. However, ancestor Shen Chen was afraid that his younger brother's words would cause Master to be afraid, so he taught He Luonan a lesson. Unexpectedly, He Luonan left the sect and disappeared. Because He Luonan was only an in-name disciple of the five-element sect and not a direct disciple, he was not very important. Ancestor Xuanshen's master did not send anyone to look for him. Because of the sect rules, ancestor Shen Chen could not search for him. This matter could only be left unsettled. Many years later, ancestor Shen Chen took charge of the five-element sect. Although he secretly inquired about He Luonan's whereabouts, there was no more news, which made ancestor Shen Chen very regretful. As he grew older, ancestor Shen Chen also gave up looking for He Luonan. After all, he did not believe that He Luonan could cultivate very well. After so many years, He Luonan might have already passed away. After all, He Luonan was just a little playboy who relied on his elder brother's strength to run amok in the sect. He was not very interested in cultivation. But unexpectedly, He Luonan actually called. He was actually still alive. "Elder brother, I am overseas. You know about the Overseas Cultivators Association?" He Luonan said, choking with sobs. "I know. Are you a member there? Come back and help me. I know about the Overseas Cultivators Association. Although it is not small, it is still someone else's business." Ancestor Shen Chen invited. "Elder brother, the Overseas Cultivators Association was founded by me." He Luonan smiled bitterly and said, "Is your younger brother that bad? Elder brother can take charge of the five-element sect, but I can't." "What? The Overseas Cultivators Association is yours?" Ancestor Shen Chen was shocked after hearing this. "Then, the elder Chen who was killed by Lin Yi before was your subordinate?" Chapter 3255. Luo Duan, it's not that I don't want to help you. I want to advise you that Lin Yi is not a person to be trifled with. You'd better not go against him. Ancestor Shen Chen pondered for a moment and said seriously, "Brother, what do you mean? Why is Lin Yi not a person to be trifled with? Did you listen to the rumors? I heard before that Lin Yi could instantly kill an expert at the peak of the late stage of heaven stage, but that's just a rumor. It doesn't count." He Luo Duan didn't expect his elder brother to believe these nonsense. He suddenly found it funny. That Lin Yi was chased by my son until he was forced to retreat. He could only injure my son. It's not a big deal at all. As he spoke, He Luo Duan recounted the previous process to ancestor Shen Chen in detail. "Luo Duan, is what you said true?" Ancestor Shen Chen was shocked after hearing it. In that case, Lin Yi was not a threat at all. He didn't think that his younger brother would lie. Although the two brothers hadn't seen each other for more than 50 years, ancestor Shen Chen believed that He Luo Duan wouldn't lie to him on such a big matter. Of course it's true. That Lin Yi is only at the peak of the early stage of heaven stage. He is indeed a little more powerful than the other peak of the early stage of heaven stage. Being able to injure my son also proves this point. However, it's not a serious injury. A recover pill can completely solve the problem. He Luo Duan said. Oh! Ancestor Shen Chen couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Things seemed a little unusual. You mean, Lin Yi ran overseas? Yes, Lin Yi is here. As he spoke, He Luo Duan told Ancestor Shen Chen what Lin Yi did here. Lin Yi went to look for the blue crystal? Ancestor Shen Chen was slightly surprised. He naturally knew what the blue crystal was used for. It was a material that could be used by blacksmith. Tagan Long needed the blue crystal to refine the essence chi necklace. However, before Tagan Long could refine it, Lin Yi had snatched away the manual and essence chi Niden. Then, he was injured, so the matter was delayed. Could it be that Lin Yi was looking for the blue crystal to refine a profound chi necklace? Patriarch Shen Chen could not be blamed for thinking this way. After all, for cultivators, the blue crystal was only used for forging weapons. There was no other use for it. As for whether Lin Yi was a blacksmith, Patriarch Shen Chen did not think too much about it. In his opinion, since Lin Yi could make an automatic medicine cauldron, he might be able to forge weapons automatically. Even if he could not, it would not be difficult to forge a essence necklace. He might be able to do it using other special methods. Big brother, what's wrong? He Luonan was slightly taken aback. That blue crystal can only be used by blacksmiths. No one else can. I still have a lot of it here. Big brother, do you need it? I have a lot too. I don't need it. I just suspect that Lin Yi picked up a weapon. Patriarch Shen Chen shook his head and said, forget it, let's not study this. Although Lin Yi's performance on your side is relatively weak, there are a few rumors here. They don't seem to be fake. Let me tell you. As he spoke, Patriarch Shen Chen told the legend of Lin Yi to He Luonan. After listening, He Luonan clicked his tongue in wonder. He had some doubts in his heart. The deaths of peak late stage and great perfection peak late stage experts were also a fact. He did not think that Patriarch Shen Chen did not confirm whether these people were dead or not, so these people must be dead. As for how they died and whether it had anything to do with Lin Yi, he did not know. But it seemed that Lin Yi was really strange. Thinking of this, He Luonan nodded and said, Big brother, I understand what you mean. Let's forget about Lin Yi. I will not take the initiative to provoke him for the time being. Everything will wait until the truth is out. Ian, I will carefully investigate Lin Yi. Wait for my news. Patriarch Shen Chen said. He was actually very puzzled. What was going on with Lin Yi? Why did the strength he showed not match the rumors? Okay, big brother, there is one more thing. Isn't the Five Elements sect related to the Heavenly Elixir sect? Can you help me to buy some first-grade automatic medicine cauldrons? He Luonan asked. Oh, this matter, no problem. Patriarch Shen Chen agreed after listening and said, this medicine cauldron was made by my son-in-law. It is only sold under the Heavenly Elixir sect's brand. I will give you 10 later. Ah. Thank you, big brother. He Luonan said happily after listening. It's a small matter. Patriarch Shen Chen shook his head and said, Luonan, when I am ready, you can come and get it. Us two brothers, let's get together, okay. He Luonan readily agreed this time. Ian, bring your son too. I have never seen my nephew. Patriarch Shen Chen said. He Luonan and Patriarch Shen Chen ended the call, and Patriarch Shen Chen called Kang Ming Ming over. Father-in-law, why are you looking for me? After Kang Ming Ming came over, he asked respectfully. It's like this. Go and investigate Lin Yi, especially Lin Yi's battles with the Heaven Stage Masters and the process of killing the Heaven Stage Masters in seconds. Investigate them in detail. Patriarch Shen Chen ordered. Oh, this. What is there to investigate? Father-in-law, is there a problem? Kang Ming Ming was slightly stunned and asked curiously. Ian, it's like this. Therefore, Patriarch Shen Chen told Kang Ming Ming about Lin Yi's conflict with the Overseas Cultivators Association in Europe. After listening, Kang Ming Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. If this was true, then it meant that Lin Yi wasn't as scary as the rumors made him out to be. If that was the case, then he wouldn't have to be afraid of Lin Yi anymore. He was afraid that Lin Yi was invincible, so he didn't dare to make a fuss about it. But now, thinking of this, Kang Ming Ming quickly nodded and agreed, okay, father-in-law, I will go and investigate this matter now. Ian, you go. If there is anything you can't figure out, just report to me. We will discuss it together. Patriarch Shenchen said. I understand. After receiving the order, Kang Mingming excitedly went to investigate. After Kang Mingming left, Patriarch Shenchen fell into deep thought. He had never thought that the Overseas Cultivators Association would be his younger brother's force. If that happened, the Five Elements sect would be even more powerful than before, and they would have a greater say in the future plan. Chapter 3256. After all, this plan, with the participation of the association, it would be a great help. Sky-class late phase peak full circle, each and every one of them would be useful. Lin Yi ran with Xu Shahan and Cheng Yi. He didn't know how far they ran, how many small towns they passed, and finally, Lin Yi's remaining strength was used up. Lin Yi had no choice but to stop and put Xu Shahan and Cheng Yi on the side of the road. Although, Lin Yi knew that the possibility of them finding him was very low after running so far and not in a straight line, Lin Yi still didn't dare to be careless. After putting Xu Shahan and Cheng Yi down, Lin Yi hid behind a haystack near an open-air farm. I'm sorry. Lin Yi, I caused you trouble. Xu Shahan looked at Lin Yi apologetically. Lin Yi waved his hand. It's not your fault. He Tianzu being interested in you is just a small problem. The real problem is that I killed their elder Chen, but it's not a big deal. Didn't we run away? Is young Chichi okay? Xu Shahan was worried about Chichi's safety. I'll give her a call and ask. Even if Xu Shahan didn't say anything, Lin Yi was going to call Chichi to ask about her current situation. The call went through quickly, and Chichi's worried voice came from the other side. Lin Yi bro, how are you guys? We escaped smoothly, it's fine, don't worry about us. You, on the other hand, will you make enemies with the association because of this? Lin Yi asked worriedly. It's fine, they won't dare to do anything to me. Chichi shook her head, plus, I'm not stupid enough to admit our relationship. I'm just saying that you helped me during the test, that's why I treated you well. That's good. Lin Yi nodded, letting out a breath of relief. It seemed that Chichi wasn't as dumb as he thought she was, but it was understandable. This was young Chichi's turf, and Chichi had always been a guest during those tests. She was weaker than the others, too. Who would they bully if not her? But, young Chichi was from the association, and that explained why she was leveling up so quickly. The association would definitely give her some physical practitioner's body refinement medicine regularly. Brother Lin Yi, are they not chasing after you? Do you want me to scout for you? Chichi asked. Please don't. However, Lin Yi rejected her decisively. He quickly reminded her, Chichi, don't be careless. Although they won't dare to do anything to you, you are still related to me. It won't be good if they get suspicious. What you need to do is to take the initiative to apologize to the association and cut all ties with me, understand? Chichi wasn't too willing. Pretending that she had nothing to do with Lin Yi was fine, but cutting all ties with him was a little. Chichi, listen to me. I still need you to scout for information in the future. Nothing can happen to you. Lin Yi said seriously. All right. Chichi knew that Lin Yi probably had other things for her to do in the future. She could only nod. Also, that blue crystal, if the association asks, don't tell them you bought it for me. Just tell them you bought it yourself. Lin Yi instructed. If they ask you what you want to do, tell them that you heard that blue crystals can be used to make divine weapons. Buy them and collect them, and see if you can find someone to make them for you in the future. All right, I understand. Chichi nodded and didn't ask any more questions. Also, if they ask me and Shahan why we're here at the auction, just tell them that you're here. We're just here to watch the show, but we didn't see anything too good. Lin Yi said. All right, I understand. Chichi was a smart person. She knew that Lin Yi wanted her to help him collect the other materials. If she said that Lin Yi needed it, then she wouldn't be able to participate in the auction anymore. Then let's do it after I settle down, we'll go to Island X. We'll meet there. Lin Yi said. Island X was one of the places where Lin Yi lived when he was young. His master and mistress lived there. It had been so many years since his master left, and he never went there again. Lin Yi, Shahan, and Cheng Yi took advantage of the dark to come to a small town nearby. They didn't dare reveal their identities, so they didn't stay in a hotel. Instead, they went to a bath center. They could rest there at night, but they didn't need to register. It was very convenient. Lin Yi's guess was right before Chichi could even go apologize to the association. The people from the association had already come to find her. They wanted to know more about her situation. But when young Chichi came to the guild, the chairman was very polite to her. "Young Chichi, please have a seat. I've called you here because there's something I'd like to know." "President He, I'm sorry. I didn't know that Ling Yi was the enemy of the association," Chichi said apologetically. "Please punish me, President He," Chichi said apologetically. "Chichi, what are you doing?" He Luonan waved his hand. "I'm not blaming you. I know you don't know, so it's not your fault. I just want to know more." "All right, go ahead." Chichi nodded. "It's like this. You and Lin Yi, how did you meet?" He Luonan asked. "Ling Yi. That's Lin Yi. During the test, he changed his name to Ling Yi. In the Ice Palace test, I was bullied. Lin Yi saw that I was a girl, alone, so he helped me out," Chichi said. "After that, in the Sky Elixir test, he helped me as well. So we became friends." He Luonan nodded. It was more or less what he guessed. Chichi and Lin Yi could only be considered strangers who met by chance. They were just slightly better friends. They didn't have any other relationship. Then why did he come here? He came here to help Shahan and Cheng Yi contact an entertainment company. As the host, of course, I had to entertain them, Chichi said. Chapter 3257. I was the one who suggested the auction, actually. I said that there might be some resources useful to practitioners being auctioned off, and we'll let them join in the fun. Chichi said. But there's nothing useful to them in the auction, anyway. That's right, Chichi said. Oh, the blue crystal? He Luodong nodded. That. I just bought it to keep. Chichi suddenly felt a little embarrassed. I heard that blue crystal is a material for forging weapons, so I was thinking that I'd collect some materials and see if I could ask someone to forge a weapon for me when I reach Sky Class. Oh? He Luodan paused after hearing Chichi's words. He didn't think that Chichi would buy this blue crystal for this purpose. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Chichi, the blacksmith profession has disappeared for a long time, don't you know? Even if you collect all the materials, you won't be able to forge a weapon. Ah. I don't know. Chichi shook her head. Our association doesn't have it, but the ones in China don't either. One look at Chichi's face, and He Luodong believed her. The information in the association was very limited, and all the practitioners here got their information from the association. The association had never mentioned anything about blacksmithing, so it was normal that Chichi didn't know about it. Plus, blue crystal was one of the materials for blacksmiths, and this was a top secret. Normal practitioners didn't know about it, and He Luodong only knew a thing or two because he grew up in the 5 Elements sect. As a result, he didn't think that this was what Lin Yi wanted. After all, Lin Yi and Chichi weren't that close, and Lin Yi wouldn't tell Chichi that he wanted it. It was a secret, and if he were Lin Yi, he wouldn't tell her anything. The only possibility was that Chichi was telling the truth, and that this was what she needed. There shouldn't be any blacksmiths in China. He Luodong shook his head, not caring about this anymore, but if you want to collect it, go ahead. Chichi, thank you for your cooperation. Go get your training resources for this month, and you can go back. Ah. Thank you, Chairman Chichi said quickly. He Luodong nodded and didn't say anything else. As far as he was concerned, Chichi wasn't suspicious, and he only called her over to ask some questions before letting her go. Chichi let out a breath of relief after leaving, but she didn't show anything out of the ordinary. She went to get her training resources and left the association. After Lin Yi settled down, he smiled bitterly. He wanted to go out with Shu Shahan to relax, but he didn't expect something like this to happen. Fortunately, he had the wind chaser boots, otherwise, he wouldn't be able to escape this disaster. But at least he was temporarily out of danger, and the cooperation between Shu Shahan and Cheng Yi was definitely not going to happen. Lin Yi wouldn't allow them to work with companies here, otherwise, If the association wanted to use them as a hostage and send Lin Yi to his death, it would be troublesome. This way, he'd lose some income. Thinking about Xiaoke's orphanage gave him a headache. It was too big, and it was too late to stop now. Orphans from all over the country were being sent over, and with Xiaoke and the dean's personalities, they wouldn't reject these children at the door. As Lin Yi was thinking about these things, his phone rang. Lin Yi thought it was Chichi, but when he took out his phone, it was Dafeng Bro from Red Conch. Dafeng, what's up? Lin Yi quickly picked up the phone. Mr. Lin, it's like this. After a period of diligent investigation, I obtained some information. The addresses of the poison production bases of the Red Conches are all stored in the headquarters of the Red Conches. In the safe in the general manager's office of the Conch building, there is a document with the detailed coordinates of each poison production base. When I attended this year's headquarters meeting, the general manager of the Conch Group, who is also the leader of the Red Conches, asked his secretary to retrieve the document from the safe when he was introducing the performance of the Red Conches. It was a yellow envelope. Elder brother Dafeng quickly said, however, Zongduosu only introduced the profits of each base. He didn't say the specific location of these poison refining bases, but I saw with my peripheral vision that there are map coordinates on it. Oh! Dafeng, are you sure? This news made Lin Yi very excited. He'd been looking for Armadillo all this time, not only for himself, but also for Ziyu. Yes, I'm sure. Dafeng Bro said with certainty. Good. If this is true, then I'll reward you heavily when we get back. I'll raise your strength to Earth-class late phase peak. Lin Yi said. Ah. This. Dafeng Bro was startled. He didn't expect Lin Yi to give him such a generous reward. Earth-class late phase peak. If he really had that strength, then he might get a chi-gathering pill from the headquarters or some other elixir to level up his training. That way, his strength would increase by another level, and he would be able to take on a more important position. With that thought, Dafeng Bro said excitedly, Mr. Lin, if I can raise my strength to Earth-class late phase peak, then I can even get a position in the headquarters. At that time, I'll continue to work for you, Mr. Lin, and find out where your friends are. Okay. Lin Yi said faintly, tell me, what's the address of the Red Conches headquarters? The headquarters of the Red Conches is in Europe's Raylida town. On the Sky Crater Road, there's a red skyscraper called the Conch Skyscraper. That's the headquarters. Dafeng Bro said. Raylida town. Phut. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he heard the name. When Lin Yi entered the spa center, he already felt that the name of the town was familiar. It was as if he'd heard it somewhere before. Now that Dafeng Bro said it, Lin Yi realized that the town he was in was Raylida town. Chapter 3258. What's wrong, Mr. Lin? Brother Dafeng didn't know. When he heard Lin Yi's laughter, he felt strange. Nothing. Which floor is the general manager's office on? Lin Yi asked. I'm not sure about this. We had a meeting in the conference room. As for which floor is the general manager's office on, I'm not sure either. Brother Dafeng said apologetically, I can't find out about this, it's okay. I'll find out myself. Lin Yi nodded. This was a small matter. As long as he was sure that the document was in the general manager's office, it would be fine. Okay, Mr. Lin, be careful. Brother Dafeng reminded. If Lin Yi was fine, then he, Brother Dafeng, would get more benefits in the future. If something happened to Lin Yi, then he would basically retire from his current position. Perhaps, he might even be dragged into this matter. Lin Yi hung up the phone and walked to the private room where Xu Shahan and Cheng Yi were resting. He knocked on the door, and soon, Cheng Yi's voice came from inside. Who is it? It's me. Lin Yi said. As soon as Lin Yi's voice fell, the door opened. Cheng Yi was wearing a nightgown. Her hair was wet as she stood in front of him. Her wheat-colored skin was shining under the moisture of the steam. This made Lin Yi's eyes suddenly lit up. Needless to say, a girl like Cheng Yi who was full of wild beauty was quite attractive to men. Lin Yi was tempted once before. Now, looking at Cheng Yi standing in front of him so coolly, Lin Yi still felt a little unnatural. Are you guys showering? Lin Yi didn't expect them to still be showering. No, Xiao Han is in the sauna. I'll have to switch later. Cheng Yi smiled. Do you think girls are like you, just taking a shower? Lin Yi was slightly stunned and then smiled bitterly. Yeah, every time Miss and Shu took a bath, they would take a bubble bath or a sauna. It was just that Lin Yi didn't think so much. You're looking for Xiao Han? Seeing that Lin Yi was stunned, Cheng Yi smiled and asked. She felt a little sour in her heart. Lin Yi probably wouldn't take the initiative to look for her, right? He must be here to look for Shu Shahan. You are fine too. Lin Yi said. I have to go out for a while. Text me if you need anything, call me if it's urgent. Don't worry about me. Don't leave this place. Ah, you're going out? Cheng Yi was stunned and asked. Yeah, there's something I need to do. Lin Yi didn't go into specifics, but he didn't need to. Well, then pay attention to your safety. Little Han and I will wait for you here. Cheng Yi nodded and did not ask much. Instead, she softly said. Cheng Yi was wearing a bathrobe and she was telling him that she and Xiao Han were waiting for him here. No matter how he heard it, it was a bit ambiguous. However, regardless of whether Cheng Yi was seducing him or not, Lin Yi was going to leave. Looking at Lin Yi's back, Cheng Yi sighed. Indeed, just like what Lin Yi guessed, Cheng Yi really was seducing Lin Yi. She already told Lin Yi about her identity, so she didn't need to hide anything. She didn't need to hide her love for Lin Yi. However, it seemed that Lin Yi didn't have any feelings for her. Shaking her head, Cheng Yi closed the door and walked towards the bathroom. She wanted to talk to Shu Shahan about Lin Yi. After Lin Yi left the bathroom, he flagged down a taxi and said to the driver, Tiankeng Road. Lin Yi spoke in English, so the driver could understand him. As for why Lin Yi was going to Tiankeng Road, the driver didn't ask much. It seemed that his English wasn't very good. He only knew basic conversation. But the more it was like this, the happier Lin Yi was. It was best if no one asked him. The sky had just brightened. Tiankeng Road wasn't a commercial street, so there weren't many people walking. After Lin Yi got out of the car, he began to look for a red building. There weren't many buildings on this street. Soon, Lin Yi found a red building marked Conch Group on the side of the street. Conch Group. Lin Yi shook his head. Why wasn't it called Fire Wolf Group? But what it was called had nothing to do with Lin Yi. Lin Yi's purpose of coming here was to steal the document from the general manager's office. Lin Yi bought a newspaper on the street, then pretended to be a passerby. He walked to a bench near Conch Building, sat down, and read the newspaper like a leisurely tourist. No one noticed Lin Yi. Lin Yi kept staring at Conch Building from the corner of his eyes. But what surprised Lin Yi was that there were cars going in and out of Conch Building's courtyard even in the early morning. This discovery made Lin Yi frown. After all, there weren't many people in a company in the morning, but Conch Group was different. There were already so many people going in and out in the morning. Would there be people at night? However, looking at the top of the building, many of the lights in the windows were not turned off. Obviously, they were turned on when it was dark, but now that it was dawn, there was no time to turn them off. Obviously, there were people working in the Conch Group at night. Lin Yi shook his head, picked up the newspaper, and walked to a restaurant on the other side of the street. He'd observed the place, and found out that it was owned by a Scottish couple. He could tell from the clothes they were wearing and the way they talked to the customers. Therefore, Lin Yi chose this restaurant and walked in. There were not many people in the restaurant because it was too early now. Only 2 or 3 customers were buying things. These 3 or 2 people were even buying takeout. They did not choose to eat in the restaurant at all. After they left, Lin Yi bought some meals casually and sat down. Then, he pretended as if nothing had happened and chatted with the couple. Auntie, you're not from here, right? You're Scottish, right? Lin Yi asked in English. Yeah, young man, how did you know? Are you here to travel? The proprietress had nothing to do at the moment. When Lin Yi spoke, she started talking. Yes, I've been there. Judging from your accent, you should be from there. The decorations of your store and your clothes are all from there. Lin Yi did not lie. He had been to Scotland when he was on a mission in the past. Chapter 32:59. I came here to discuss business, so I took a look around on the way. Act Actually, it's not for a vacation, Lin Yi said. I see. However, there's really no place I can recommend you to go. At most, you can walk around nearby and see the local customs, the proprietress said with some regret. Right, what's the red building opposite for? Lin Yi asked casually. It seems like there are cars coming and going early in the morning. Oh, you're talking about the Conch Group, the proprietress said. That's the largest trading company in the town. It covers almost all the trading industries in the town. The raw materials for our small shops are all supplied by the Conch Group. It's also the largest import and export company in this area, so there are people delivering goods and discussing business all night long. I see. Lin Yi was enlightened, but he had some doubts in his heart. It seemed that this Conch Group should be a company without any shady interests on the surface, but it disguised itself quite well. It actually did trade for people's livelihood. However, Lin Yi didn't believe that the Conch Group didn't do any shady business. Perhaps these were just cover-ups. The closer it was to the headquarters, the more careful one had to be. Otherwise, it would be strange if a large group without any formal business did not arouse suspicion. This kind of import and export trade was suitable for money laundering. As long as the shipper was also one's own people, they could quote a lower purchase price. It saved a lot of trouble. However, this brought great trouble to Lin Yi's investigation of the building. There were people coming and going in the group, so Lin Yi couldn't sneak in. He could only disguise himself as a person discussing business and enter. However, it was difficult to come into contact with core office areas like the general manager's office. In order to prevent these serious businessmen from entering those areas by mistake, there would definitely be many security guards patrolling. After all, these shady things couldn't be shown to these people. Therefore, if Lin Yi wanted to go to those key areas, he had to think of a way. Originally, Lin Yi thought that he could settle it in one day. Now, he had to spend some effort. Why, young man? You want to do business with the Conch Group too? The lady boss saw the anticipation in Lin Yi's eyes, so she asked casually. Actually, the look in Lin Yi's eyes was fake. Lin Yi naturally couldn't show his true emotions on his face. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm also in the trade business, and that partner of mine is actually buying goods from Conch Group. If I buy from him, I'll be making less money, so. Lin Yi said, pretending to be embarrassed. Hehe, I knew it. How could you not know about the Conch Group, lad? So you're here for connections. The lady boss thought nothing of it, thinking that she had exposed Lin Yi's secret. All she did was smile and say, actually, the Conch Group's starting point for doing business is very low. If you have the money, you can negotiate with them. Just like our restaurants, we don't actually need a lot of goods each, but if a few of us work together, we can be considered quite a sizable customer. We can still get the goods directly from the Conch Group. Oh, don't you need someone to introduce you? Lin Yi was slightly taken aback. There's no need. The lady boss waved her hand and said, lad, you can go directly. There's a reception at the entrance of their company. Tell them your purpose, and they will introduce you to the relevant person in charge. Is that so? Thank you very much. I'll go take a look now. Lin Yi smiled politely after listening to the lady boss's words. It's not a big deal. Go on, lad. The lady boss said indifferently. Lin Yi paid for the meal, left the small restaurant, and walked to the Conch Group. Sure enough, there was a reception downstairs of the Conch Group. Inside the reception, there were many businessmen asking about something. As soon as Lin Yi entered the door, someone greeted him. Boss, what business are you looking for? A waiter asked politely. Aquatic products. Lin Yi said. This was an idea that came to him after he saw a few trucks transporting seafood. It seemed that aquatic products were one of the main businesses of the Conch Group. Sir, how should I address you? The waiter nodded without any surprise and asked. My surname is Yi, Yi Ling, Lin Yi said. Oh, okay, Mr. Yi. The waiter didn't care much about Lin Yi's name. He just registered it. Mr. Yi, how much do you need every month? About 30 million euros, Lin Yi said. The price Lin Yi quoted was not particularly high, but it was definitely not low either. The waiter's eyes lit up. They were all employees at the bottom of the hierarchy. They didn't know the true details of the company. However, their manager had already informed these people. For customers who needed a large amount of goods, the price could be appropriately discounted. As long as the customer's monthly cash flow reached a certain amount, it would be fine. Of course, these waiters seemed to be making a small profit but a quick turnover. In fact, the purpose of the company was very simple. It was to launder money. The more cash they took in, the better it was for them to operate. "Sir, a customer of your level can meet the account manager directly." The waiter quickly wrote a list for Lin Yi and said to Lin Yi, "You can now go to the account manager's office on the second floor and look for Manager Krieg. He will be your business manager in the future." "Okay, thank you." Lin Yi nodded. He took the list and left the reception room. So far, everything was very smooth. Lin Yi successfully passed the first stage. Next, it was how to get the account manager to bring him to the general manager. However, it was a little difficult when he thought about it. For money laundering, the business manager level was probably the top level. At most, he could see the head of the business department. As for the general manager, it was almost impossible to see him. However, Lin Yi could only take one step at a time. Anyway, who didn't know how to brag? Lin Yi first drew a few big pies to see if the other party would take the bait. Lin Yi stood at the door of the business manager's office and pondered for a moment. He pushed the door and walked in. Immediately, a man with a crew cut greeted him. He smiled at Lin Yi and said, "Sir, my name is Krieg. Are you looking for me?" Chapter 3260. And the head of the Buffon family, old Buffon, who was now more than 80 years old, was a good friend of his master when he was young. He was also his master's disciple. Lin Yi could think of only him who could pull the flag. Sure enough, when Lin Yi brought up the banner of the Buffon family, Krieg's face suddenly changed. He looked at Lin Yi with incomparable respect. "Mr. Yi, hello. Welcome to our company for business cooperation. You can rest assured that our price and quality are definitely the best in the industry. Of course, to tell you the truth, 30 million euros, I just casually quoted a number. If our business is to be launched, it is definitely more than this number. So, Mr. Krieg, would you like to introduce your department manager?" said Lin Yi. Of course, there is no problem. Even if Lin Yi didn't say it, Krieg planned to introduce Lin Yi to the department manager. The Buffon family was a big family. This level of order, he, a small account manager, couldn't handle it, and he didn't have the ability to sign it. He could only let the department manager do it. "Thank you, Mr. Krieg." Lin Yi nodded. Under Krieg's introduction, Lin Yi smoothly met Red Conch's Minister of Business, Liut. This was a middle-aged man with a big belly, but with Lin Yi's intuition, this person should know some secrets of Red Conch. "Hello, Mr. Yi, nice to meet you." Liut walked over and shook hands with Lin Yi in a very formal manner, then smiled slightly. "Please come with me. Let's talk in detail." "Okay." Lin Yi nodded. After the introduction, Krieg left Minister Liut's office. Minister Liut asked the secretary to pour tea for Lin Yi. However, when Lin Yi saw Liut's secretary, his eyes couldn't help but freeze slightly. The incredible shock flashed away. Although Liut didn't notice Lin Yi's shock, Lin Yi looked at his secretary for a long time. Liut smiled slightly. "Mr. Yi is Asian, right? My secretary is also a very capable young man. Our general manager placed him by my side to gain experience." In fact, Liut Yi said this to express his good impression of Asians. He also wanted to compliment Lin Yi. After all, Lin Yi was the god of fortune in Liut Yi's eyes. The Red Conches needed to launder money. If they could get on the big ship of the Buffon family, then things would be much smoother in the future. Although it was only the supply of aquatic products to the hotel, if they cooperated more in the future, they could rely on the Conch Group to purchase the other facilities of the hotel. This way, the Conch Group could obtain a large amount of cash flow. "Yes." Lin Yi smiled and said, "This young man is not bad." Lin Yi was shocked by the appearance of this Asian young man. Surprisingly, it was not much different from Lin Yi's appearance after he wore the thousand-thread mask. Of course, it was impossible to say that it was exactly the same, but it was somewhat similar. This discovery made Lin Yi very shocked and excited at the same time. Since entering the conch group, Lin Yi had been looking for a breakthrough. He wanted to quickly get close to the general manager's office, but he didn't know where to go. However, this young man in front of him allowed Lin Yi to find a shortcut to the general manager's office. In particular, Liu told him that this young man was sent by the general manager to gain experience by his side, which was enough to show that this young man knew the general manager. If Lin Yi pretended to be this person, he should be able to enter the general manager's office smoothly. Of course, for Lin Yi, who used to be an assassin, it was easy to disguise as someone who was similar to himself. However, at this moment, Lin Yi was calm. He just nodded and got to the point. Minister Liu, since you know my origin, then I also know some things about your company. It can be said that our cooperation is a win-win situation. I can increase the cash flow in the conch group, but you must give me the most favorable price. Liu was slightly stunned, but thinking that Lin Yi was a member of the Buffon family, it was not surprising that he knew these secrets. The Buffon family was originally a family that sold arms. It was similar to the Red Conch drug trafficking group, but arms were legal in some places. However, Liu believed that the Buffon family would definitely secretly do some illegal arms business, so it was refreshing to talk to smart people. Liu immediately smiled and said, "Yes, since Mr. Yi is a sensible person, then I won't say much. You just have to tell me, how much can your hotel group take from me in a month?" 50 million to 100 million. Lin Yi said, "However, this is only the hotels in the nearby area. If your company has enough advantages, you can also purchase hotels in other distant areas from here." "I understand." Minister Liu nodded and said, "How about this, Mr. Yi, can you wait here for a while? I will go and ask the general manager, and then I will try to give you the most favorable price list. Even if you lose some money and add some freight, it doesn't matter." "Okay, then I will wait for your news." Lin Yi smiled. This was the result he hoped for the most. It seemed that Liu was an insider, and he did not intend to hide the purpose of his money laundering in front of Lin Yi. "Secretary Liu, help me entertain Mr. Yi." Liu waved to his secretary, then got up and left the office. "Secretary Liu? No need to be busy. I didn't sleep well last night. I can close my eyes and rest for a while." Lin Yi waved his hand, indicating that Secretary Liu did not need to prepare tea for him. "Okay, then you rest, Mr. Yi," Secretary Liu said quickly. Lin Yi closed his eyes. It looked like he was closing his eyes to rest, but in fact, Lin Yi was not resting, but perceiving everything in the outside world through the perception in the space of the jade pendant. Now that Lin Yi was a heaven stage master, it was easy to lock Liu's figure. Lin Yi's divine sense perception had been on Liu. Lin Yi saw that after Liu left the office, he went into an elevator. The elevator was dedicated, not an ordinary passenger elevator. One must swipe a card to enter. This made Lin Yi frown slightly. Chapter 3261. However, if Secretary Liu knew the general manager, he should also have such a card, right? Thinking of this, Lin Yi felt slightly relieved. Liu took the elevator to the 29th floor of the Conch Corporation. He walked to an office at the end of the corridor and knocked on the door. After a while, an inquiring voice came from the office. "Who is it?" "What's the matter?" "It's me, Root, Fanny's secretary." Liu was obviously very familiar with the general manager's secretary. As soon as he said his name, the office door opened. "Hello, Mr. Liu. The general manager is in the office." "Please come in," Fanny said politely. This action made Lin Yi realize that he had found the right person. It seemed that Liu was really a core member of the Red Conches. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to enter the general manager's office so easily. But thinking about it, it was true. The business managers in the business department might not know, but it was impossible for Liu, the business minister, not to know about the group's money laundering. "Liu, what's the matter?" A deep male voice rang out. However, as soon as the voice rang out, his tone changed. "Fanny, look outside and see if anyone is following us." As he spoke, he revealed his peak late-stage heaven rank strength, as if he was preparing to use his divine sense to sense if anyone was following them. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. He had not expected the red conch to have such a crouching tiger and hidden dragon. Lin Yi remembered that Brother Darfeng said that the red conch headquarters did not have any powerful experts. Now, it seemed that Brother Darfeng didn't know many core secrets. Lin Yi also subconsciously stopped probing with his divine sense and spiritual power. His divine sense and spiritual power had already been discovered by the other party. If he continued, it might cause trouble. Since the purpose had been achieved, and Lin Yi already knew the location of the general manager's office, then Lin Yi didn't need to investigate anymore. Lin Yi didn't care much about what Lu Ti said to the general manager. After all, he didn't really want to do business, and those trade secrets were worthless to him. Of course, on the surface, Lin Yi was still sitting in Lute's office with his eyes closed. He didn't show any abnormalities. "Dear boss, there's no one outside." Although Fanny was a beautiful secretary, she was still an Earth-class expert. Of course, with her strength, it was impossible for her to sense Lin Yi's presence. Not to mention that Lin Yi had already withdrawn his divine sense, Fanny couldn't sense anything. "Maybe I'm being too sensitive." The general manager nodded. It was only a fleeting feeling before, but when he ran the mantra and carefully searched around the office and even the elevator entrance, he found that there were no outsiders here. Everything was normal. "Lu Ti, what's the matter?" "Boss, this is the case. The purchasing manager of the Buffon family hotel is here. He hopes to cooperate with us in the procurement of aquatic products." As Lu Ti spoke, he told the general manager about Lin Yi's conditions. "In that case, this Yi Ling is here to ask for a favor." The general manager smiled faintly after listening and said, "He gave us a large order, but he doesn't want us to make money. It's like this. From Mr. Yi's words, I can tell that he knows that we are in the drug business. These foreign trade are just for money laundering. That's why he came to us to cooperate." Lu Ti nodded and said, "Hehe, but it's not a big deal. With the strength of the Buffon family, it's easy for them to know our details. He wants to take advantage of us, and we want to launder money. It's a win-win situation." The general manager smiled and said, "We can agree to his conditions and lower it by 10% from our current lowest wholesale price. But the premise is that the monthly cash flow must be more than 50 million euros. "Okay, boss. I'll talk to him." Lu Ti nodded. "Of course, you can ask. If he can reach a quota of more than 200 million euros, I can directly lower it by 20% for him," the general manager said. In fact, the supplier of the aquatic products was also a subsidiary of Red Conch's. It was an aquatic product breeding company. This company didn't do it to make money. It couldn't even break even. It was only because of the secret financial support from Red Conch's headquarters that they could live well. The only purpose of this company's existence was to help Red Conch's launder money. After all, the breeding cost was really hard to say. It could be said that it was profitable even if it didn't make money. It was just that the people on the same side had the final say. "I understand." Lu Ti didn't stay for long. After reporting the matter, he left the office and took the elevator back to his own office. "Fanny, check the background of this Yi Ling for me. Ask the Buffon family if there is such a person," the general manager said to Fanny after Lu Ti left. "Oh, boss, do you suspect that there is a problem with him?" Fanny was shocked and asked quickly. "I don't know. Maybe it's an intuition. I felt that there was a high-level cultivator investigating me. I don't know if it has anything to do with this Yi Ling," said the general manager. "Ah, okay, then I will contact the Buffon family in a while." Fanny nodded quickly. "Tomorrow, we will make a deal with President He of the Overseas Cultivator Association. That old thing is an old fox. I'm afraid he will play some tricks," the general manager continued. "Oh, boss, you mean that this Yi Ling is from the Overseas Cultivator Association?" Fanny was stunned. "Yes, I'm afraid that they are here to scout. If they are honest with us, then it's nothing. I'm just afraid that they won't be honest," said the general manager worriedly. "Boss, why is the Overseas Cultivator Association in the drug business? Aren't they cultivators? They didn't touch these things in the past." Fanny was a little confused. This was also what she wanted to ask before. "They are cultivators, Yes, but I don't know why. They said that they are in need of money. I can't find out the details. After all, the Overseas Cultivator Association is a supernatural organization. I don't dare to investigate too much and offend them. The general manager shook his head. After hearing that, Fanny clicked her tongue. She didn't dare to ask anymore. The red conches were usually very domineering, right? However, compared to the Overseas Cultivator Association, they were still a lot weaker. After all, the Overseas Cultivator Association was an organization where all cultivators gathered. The red conches were just a drug trafficking organization with cultivators in charge. Chapter 3262. Therefore, after a perfunctory and enthusiastic response, he said that he would go back and consult the board of directors of the Buffon Hotel Group to see what the maximum purchase quota could be before giving Lu Ti the news. Lu Ti didn't think much. He enthusiastically sent Lin Yi to the door and asked his secretary, Secretary Lu, to send Lin Yi out of the group. Of course, this was also convenient for Lin Yi. He could secretly take a few photos of Secretary Lu from multiple angles. Lin Yi planned to disguise himself after going back. After bidding farewell to Secretary Lu, Lin Yi quickly left the conch group without stopping. What Buffon Family Hotel Group's purchasing manager? These were all fabricated. Although Lin Yi's master knew old Buffon, the head of the Buffon family, Lin Yi didn't want to trouble old Buffon at all. He didn't want to implicate him. After all, Red Conch was not a good person. Although the Buffon family was huge, it was not wise to make an enemy for no reason. Therefore, it was very likely that the other party would quickly investigate that there was no Yi Ling in the Buffon Hotel Group. Of course, Lin Yi didn't care about this. The identity of Yi Ling was also the last time he appeared in the conch group. Tomorrow, Lin Yi would come again, but he would definitely not use the identity of Yi Ling. Lin Yi stopped a taxi on the side of the road and went to the town's largest cosmetics market. Lin Yi came here to purchase some necessary cosmetics supplies. Tomorrow, Lin Yi's identity would be Secretary Lu. Although Lin Yi hadn't been in contact with these things for a long time, this was Lin Yi's old profession after all. He was familiar with the purchase. When these things were purchased, Lin Yi returned directly to the bath center where he stayed. Of course, before returning, Lin Yi checked for a long time. After confirming that no one followed him, he entered the bath center. Lin Yi's guess was right. Secretary Fanny quickly got in touch with the Buffon family. Although the Buffon family had a large business, it was still very easy to confirm whether there was a hotel purchasing manager called Yi Ling. After all, a purchasing manager was considered a middle-level leader. The reply that Secretary Fanny got was that there was no one named Yi Ling in the hotel group. Even in the entire leadership team of the Buffon group, there was no such person. As expected, there was a problem. When Fanny reported this result to the general manager wasn't too surprised. He just frowned slightly and thought for a moment before saying to Fanny, "Fanny, go and contact the Overseas Cultivators Association. Tomorrow's transaction will be conducted in my general manager's office. Apart from President He Luo Dong, no one else is allowed to participate." "Ah, will they agree?" Fanny faltered slightly upon hearing this. "If you agree, then we'll trade. If you don't, then forget it." The general manager said, "What happened today is a bit strange. I don't need to cause trouble for a business deal." "Yes, boss." Fanny nodded and went to carry out the order. Perhaps the Overseas Cultivators Association was really short on cash. In order to complete this drug deal, they actually agreed to the general manager's requests. After all, although the Overseas Cultivators Association was a large business, most of it was a stable real estate business. The annual income was basically fixed. If they wanted to take out some extra cash, they would have to do other business. The general manager calmed down a bit after hearing the reply from the Overseas Cultivators Association. After Lin Yi went upstairs, he didn't go straight to his room. Instead, he went to Cheng Yi and Xu Shahan's room and knocked on the door. Footsteps came from inside the room, but no one spoke immediately. Lin Yi could feel that there was someone standing behind the door mirror. After a while, the door was opened, revealing Cheng Yi's surprised face. "Lin Yi, is it done?" Cheng Yi moved aside and let Lin Yi in. You're quite vigilant. Lin Yi was very satisfied with Cheng Yi's actions. Yeah, once something goes wrong, I'll run with Xiao Han. Cheng Yi said. Where's Xiao Han? Lin Yi asked. She's asleep. She actually waited for you the whole night. She couldn't take it anymore, so she went to sleep. Cheng Yi said. You also waited for the whole night? Lin Yi looked at Cheng Yi and asked. I'm a cultivator. It's fine. Cheng Yi was a bit embarrassed. Thank you. Lin Yi knew that Shu Shahan didn't sleep last night, so Cheng Yi must have stayed with her. Now that Shu Shahan was resting, Cheng Yi still had to be vigilant, afraid that someone would come looking for trouble. It's fine. Cheng Yi shook her head. I've hurt Xiao Han too much in the past. Now, I can only try my best to make up for it. Cheng Yi's face suddenly changed. What's wrong? Lin Yi quickly asked. Before, Feng Tianhu called me, but I pretended not to hear it. I didn't answer or reply. I was afraid that he would ask me about what happened here. I don't know how to answer. Cheng Yi was naturally referring to the fact that Lin Yi wasn't that powerful. Not to mention killing a peak late phase heaven class master, Lin Yi wasn't even a match for a normal peak late phase heaven class master. Lin Yi was slightly stunned and frowned. The news of him being chased by He Tianzu would probably spread back very quickly. Lin Yi didn't believe that the association had no relationship with the other ancient sects. From the fact that they knew about the automatic cauldron, they were more or less connected to the other ancient sects. So, once the news of him being chased by them spread, then the godly ability that he had been bragging about before would be destroyed by itself. He would fall down from his pedestal. However, this was something that Lin Yi couldn't stop. Lin Yi couldn't control the mouth of others. He believed that once this news was spread, his enemies would become restless again, wouldn't they? When he returned, what awaited him? Sigh, Lin Yi had a headache just thinking about it. Just tell him the truth. Lin Yi thought for a moment and said. Since he couldn't hide it anymore, he might as well let Cheng Yi tell him the truth. Otherwise, it would be the same as harming Cheng Yi. Cheng Yi was stunned. She didn't think that Lin Yi would let her tell him the truth. Chapter 3263. That's true. Cheng Yi sighed. What Lin Yi said was the truth. Even if she hid it, she couldn't hide it. Then I'll call him back now. Okay. Lin Yi nodded and said, after that, you should rest. I'll go prepare. I still have things to do tomorrow. Okay. Cheng Yi replied. After Lin Yi returned to his room, Cheng Yi called Feng Tianhu. Why didn't you pick up my call? Feng Tianhu asked. I was with Lin Yi and the others. It wasn't convenient for me to pick up, Cheng Yi said matter-of-factly. This was the most effective excuse. Oh. Feng Tianhu didn't suspect anything and continued, how's it going over there? Did you sign a contract with that entertainment company? No, something big happened here. Cheng Yi lowered her voice. Oh. What big thing? Feng Tianhu was stunned. It's like this. As she spoke, Cheng Yi told Feng Tianhu about how He Tianzu from the Overseas Cultivators Association came to harass Shu Shahan. Then, Lin Yi provoked He Tianzu. Then, there was a conflict on the road and Lin Yi ran away in fear. Feng Tianhu was shocked after listening to it. Yes, listening to Chen Yi's story, it sounded like a fantasy story. Are you serious? Lin Yi couldn't even defeat a peak late-stage heaven-class master? How is that possible? It wasn't strange that Feng Tianhu didn't believe it. After all, the rumors about Lin Yi were too miraculous. This difference was beyond Feng Tianhu's imagination. It's true. Cheng Yi said with certainty, why would I lie to you about such a big thing? Feng Tianhu thought about it and agreed. Cheng Yi wouldn't benefit from lying about this. Moreover, whether this news was true or not, the ancient age would soon send news about it. They would know once they heard it. Thus, he didn't question it anymore and said, okay, I got it. You continue to lurk around Lin Yi and think of a way to ask Lin Yi why he couldn't even beat a peak late-stage heaven rank expert. Also, what's with the rumors of instant kills? Okay, I understand. Cheng Yi nodded and said, I will try my best to get information from Lin Yi. Okay, then I'll hang up first. Feng Tianhu hadn't recovered from the shock yet. He needed to digest the news and find out more. He didn't think that Cheng Yi would lie to him. After all, Cheng Yi had no reason to lie to him. However, this matter was too important. Feng Tianhu didn't believe it directly. He wanted to wait and see. After all, so many Heaven Stage experts had died. If it wasn't Lin Yi, then who did it? Cheng Yi hung up the phone and was about to leave the washroom. But when she turned around, she saw Xu Shahan standing in front of the washroom with a face full of shock and anger. Cheng Yi couldn't help but be shocked. Xiao Han, you're awake? Who did you call just now? You actually betrayed Lin Yi? Xu Shahan glared at Cheng Yi angrily. She woke up in a daze and wanted to go to the washroom. When she walked to the door, she heard Cheng Yi talking to someone on the phone. At first, Xu Shahan didn't care and wanted to walk in. But when she heard Lin Yi's name, she immediately stopped. Xu Shahan jumped in fright. Cheng Yi was telling the person on the other side of the phone about Lin Yi's identity. Of course, Xu Shahan was very rational and didn't stop Cheng Yi on the spot because she didn't know who was on the other side of the phone. If she stopped her, would it alert the enemy? Would the person on the other side know that Cheng Yi was exposed? Would the other side immediately do something to Lin Yi? So, Xu Shahan waited until Cheng Yi hung up the phone before she questioned angrily. Xiao Han, listen to me, it's not what you think. Cheng Yi was a little panicked. She didn't think that Xu Shahan would wake up at this moment and hear everything she said in front of the washroom. It's not. I heard it with my own ears, how could it be fake? Xu Shahan said coldly. Xiao Han, listen to my explanation. Cheng Yi didn't confess to Xu Shahan. She had already made up her mind, but as time passed, Cheng Yi also betrayed Feng Tianhu. She didn't want to hurt the relationship between her and Xu Shahan, so she didn't say anything. How do you explain? Xu Shahan asked. Actually, it's like this. I have to start from that time at the orphanage. Cheng Yi knew that she couldn't hide it from Xu Shahan today, so she decided to tell the truth. She started from the orphanage helping Xu Shahan block an attack from the Great Elder of the Black Horse Society. When she talked about that time when Cheng Yi stood up to protect her, Xu Shahan's angry expression immediately calmed down. Yes, Cheng Yi risked her life to protect her, that couldn't be faked. Xu Shahan had always been very grateful to Cheng Yi. So, the Great Elder of the Black Horse Gang came to assassinate her mother at the orphanage. Cheng Yi knew about it. And, the previous few assassinations, Cheng Yi also knew about it. It's just that Cheng Yi didn't kill her.